Yes, sir. The main part of this is we have they call it the Trammel Revitalization Project. That's a big grant that we have for a project going on in Trammel. And in order to get those state and federal monies, we have to have a small procurement and purchase agreement or ordinance in place so we can move things forward for that project and other kinds of projects.
Mr. Chairman, if I might add a little bit to it.
Yes, sir.
Basically what it does is allows the folks who are doing the rehab project to quickly procure goods and services through a small procurement act. It's allowed by the Virginia Code. And so it's not as strident and not as difficult to do the contract if you have this small purchase agreement ordinance in place. And this is something that the county has had for quite some time, of years and years. And it just helps move the contract along quicker because they can go out and do certain types of things to get certain goods and services quicker. That's what it allows them to do.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. And this is typically something we'll do 10 minutes before our normal meeting. Our normal meeting will actually be at 6 p.m. You can come to, so we can hear you. Do you care to come to the podium? Is that okay? Yes.
If I remember reading on this, they were, back a while, they were soliciting for someone to bid on doing this project. And wouldn't that open up jobs for some of the people in Dickinson County? And also improve a place in Dickinson County that's in shambles right now if we got this, put this through?
Yes, ma'am, and that's what this small purchase and procurement ordinance is for, is to try to move that along. Once we get this adopted, we're going to hear from Mr. Moorman one more time, and I hope, I know Peggy hopes that this project gets started as quickly as we can. You want to talk to her a little bit?
This is the project up here in Trammel on that revitalization,
right.
And as soon as all of these things that's in their minutes tonight can get adopted, and as far as I know, the contract is probably signed. Martin Moorman will tell us for sure tonight. Then we can start advertising for contractors, and we may have different levels of contractors, Class A or Class B, whatever classes that they may need. There'll be some tear down stuff. Somebody needs to do that. So yes, hopefully if people in our county has those licenses and they apply, that we can hire them to work on that project in Trammel.
I think that's a universal goal of ours, and Mr. Moorman touched on it at the last meeting, is to hire local first, and that's going to be our goal. And we can't control somebody that doesn't apply, but this, what we're doing here, this ordinance is helping to move that so we can get started on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have any other questions? Okay, thank you. You got the time, I'm sorry. We'll just wait to see. At this time, I believe we'll be okay if we want to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
Special. We have a motion. Do I have a second to close the public hearing on the small procurement ordinance?
Second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor of adjourning the public hearing on the small procurement ordinance, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. We'll now adjourn the public hearing on the procurement procedure. And you just let me know when it's 6 o'clock.
Yeah, we can look at it. I got it. You got 5.
You got that 5.
Tell people
asked him, they said we're about maxed out.
Oh, well, there's a few chairs back through here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There's
Thank
a
you,
few more
thank you.
chairs up front if anybody wants to sit down.
Thank you so much, that was so nice.
Hey, folks, there's a few chairs up front here.
It's like church, everybody wants to back row.
Yeah, back row Baptist. You-
Yeah, I was like that.
Back row and row.
Tell them to move up. It's at the back of the auditorium.
I thought, well, she called me, I don't know what time it was she called me.
Should be up and running, that's what he's monitoring, the cameras right there, bro. There, and this all ties into that. I can hear the sound through the phones, but it should be working.
Yeah, no question about it. Greg, me kicking the screen, aren't you?
We're gonna have to get.
Yeah, no question. Good luck on that one.
Well, you don't have to cut very far.
All right.
I'm not ready. Even this piece.
It's not a clock here, is it? So this is an open mic at all times.
Until
Kill it.
you kill it.
Yeah, I kind of feel that with this short sleeve shirt, but I'm okay.
Gotcha.
Being going up there all the time. And I went to their
I'm
meeting.
fine.
I went to their meeting in Lebanon as a visitor, even though I'm not on the board, and they welcomed me to.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Figure out where to stay.
But that's, I didn't bring it up because I had a meeting. That's what David used to.
David Gates.
Well, no, actually, more than
Miss Celeste, get her seat, is that okay with you? Okay with you all, we let her get situated here before we start. I'll let you get situated. You just tell me when you're ready. Sure.
Were you at the marathon a little bit ago? Oh, I thought I seen you.
Ready? At this time, I'm going to call the regular monthly meeting to order of the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors. At this point, I'm going to ask Mr. Carlos Rose to open this meeting up in prayer, please. Mr. Rose is a guest of mine. I asked him to come. He's a good friend of mine, and I asked him to open the meeting up in prayer, please. If we'll stand, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. However you come, Mr. Rose.
Please bow your heads. Almighty God, as we come into your presence this evening to seek your blessing over our county, and more specifically this meeting, I'm aware, Lord, that Romans 13 tells us that every person is to be in subjection to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. And Lord, we understand that with that authority comes responsibility. First to you, because Hebrews 4:13 says there's no creature hidden from his sight, but all things are naked and open to the eyes of him with whom we must give account. And secondly, as citizens, we also have a responsibility according to 1 Timothy chapter 2. We are obligated to pray for those in authority so that we may lead a tranquil and quiet life in all godliness and dignity. Thank you, Lord, for the privilege of prayer. And I ask you now to guide these people who are assembled here. Proverbs 21:1 tells us that the king's heart is in your hand, and you're able to turn it wherever you wish. I ask you now, turn our hearts to seek your will for our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Rose. Mr. Peters, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to go to item 3 on the agenda. This is reorganization.
I make a motion we cancel this.
I
Got a,
just one issue. I do have a motion that you guys do need to consider. Now that we have legal counsel, we need to appoint Bud Phillips as our parliamentarian for our meetings and our processes.
I hear a motion to appoint Mr. Phillips as the
I'll
parliament.
make that motion.
Have a motion by
Second.
Mr. Peters and seconded by Ms. Willis. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well. Any other issues on reorganization?
No. Do we need
Here-
to say, do we cancel or just
I
cancel?
don't think that satisfies it. Hearing none, we'll move on to number 4, approval of minutes of both the special called meeting of January 16th, 2020, and the regular meeting January 28th, 2020. Have the floor open for motions and seconds to approve those meetings, the minutes of those meetings.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve them with some corrections that
Yes,
I've
ma'am,
already.
go ahead.
That I already gave Teresa to correct. And I gave her the page numbers and everything to correct.
Do we,
And,
There's a few typos.
I make a motion that we accept them with those corrections being made by our
I'll
clerk.
second it.
have a motion and second to accept the meeting, the minutes of January 16th and January 28th. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well. Move on to item number 5, approval of the agenda. I think there are some requests for additions. I don't know if Mr. Moore or Mr. Phillips want to enlighten us on those. I just had this on my pack. I hadn't really had the chance to look at it.
Yeah, we need to add items 8E, which is solicitation for applications, and item 8F, which is pre-qualification of contractors. Both of these are with the Trammel Revitalization Project, which Mr. Moormans will talk to us about at his time on the agenda.
Mr. Phillips, have you reviewed those, and do you have any suggestions? Or
I've reviewed all the documents in the county supervisor's package. I've reviewed all of those, and all of those are acceptable and are in good shape in terms of contract. I have not had a chance to do 8E and 8F, but if you go ahead and open up with that, then I'll quickly review those with Mr. Maroon.
Okay, do you want me to go on then?
Yes,
to,
please. Is Mr. Maroon going to speak? Is he here tonight? Okay.
So we have a motion, I guess, to go ahead and add these to the agenda.
Yes.
If we could have a motion to do that, and then
I'll
we'll
make
get to
that
them.
motion.
Have a motion by Mr. Peters to hear a second.
And I'll second it.
Yes, ma'am. So all those in favor of adding items 8E and F, those would be the solicitation for applications and pre-qualification of contractors to the agenda. Please signify by saying aye. Aye as well. Move on to number 6, Mr. Moore's report, please.
We need to make number 5, I think.
I'm sorry, we did these. So, okay, with the additions of 8, E, and F, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda then with those additions?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda with those additions.
Have a motion to approve the agenda with those additions. Here, second.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well. Then I'll move on to number 6, Mr. Moore's report to the board.
All right, this was a part of your separate handout. This is your year-to-date financial summary for the current fiscal year, which is July 1st, 2019 through the end of June 30th, 2020. The general county fund year-to-date revenues are $16,030,532. Expenditures are $18,095,656. For the month of January 2020, revenue was $1,727,886. Expenditures were $2,659,777. Local coal and gas road improvement fund year-to-date revenue is $1,865,184. Expenditures are $2,993,650. For the month of January, revenue was $485,593. Expenditures were $692. The E911 fund year-to-date revenue is $166,844. Expenditures are $369,463. And for the month of January, revenue was $32,574. Expenditures were $45,698.
Is there anything of significance there, David?
Still sluggish severance results. That's going to hold your revenues back a little, but still at this point in the year, given the projects we've taken on and the things we've expended, we're about where we should be, much as we could expect.
Have any discussion or questions on Mr. Moore's report to the board?
I make a motion we accept it as read.
Have a motion to accept Mr. Moore's report. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Motion and second to accept the county administrator's report. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye as well. Move on to number 7, expenditures.
If no one has any questions, I make a motion we pass the expenditures,
Have a motion to
I'll second.
accept them as presented to us.
motion and a second to accept the expenditures. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Move on to number 8, Mr. Moormans. Moormans, I apologize, sir.
Did I pronounce
Good to
it
see
wrong?
you again.
Moormans, I guess it is Moormans. isn't it?
Thank you again for the opportunity to address you as a board. As I mentioned last month when I was here and gave an update on the project in Trammel, I mentioned there would be certain documents that were vital that the board adopt and approve and that Mr. Moore can eventually sign off on as a representative of the county. So tonight I wanted to go over some of those documents with you that I'm hoping to be adopted and approved by the board, and those signatures go ahead and tender. The first in your packet is called the Dickinson County Program Income Plan for the Trammel Revitalization Project Phase 1. I'm going to just sort of high level talk about what each of these cover, but if you have questions, just stop me and ask. And I want to make sure you know what it is I'm asking you to approve. And let me ask, has everyone had an opportunity to at least read through these?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I apologize because I don't like reading through documents any more than you do, but I'm grateful that you did. The program income plan is essentially a document that describes how the county is going to handle any income that comes as a result of this project. The typical income you can expect, and it's outlined in this document, is that each homeowner whose home is either going to be rehabilitated or reconstructed is asked to enter into a contractual agreement with the county whereby they agree to repay some portion of what's been invested in their home to do that work. Their repayment is not based upon how much went into their home, it is based on their ability to pay, because we are trying to help economically disadvantaged individuals here. But we are asking them to sign that agreement as a way to have them have skin in the game and be invested in what we're doing. Typically, for most households, that's probably going to be about $25 a month. And that's spread out over the course of about 10 years. And there will be a lien against the property that the county will hold until that has been fully repaid. And each month, as they pay $25 or whatever the amount happens to be, the remainder of what would be the actual expense that went into their home is forgiven as debt on a monthly basis over the course of those 120 payments. This plan is meant to address what happens to that money. And essentially, it walks through very simply defining what I just did for you, describing essentially what that money can be used for on behalf of the county. In short, DHCD, or Department of Housing and Community Development for the state of Virginia, is asking that you reinvest it first back into the Trammel community if there are opportunities to do so, but if not, it outlines some other ways that that money can be applied and used by the county. It's not going to be a lot of money, just for the record. We're talking over 10 years with the homes that we're addressing, maybe 30, I think it's, what's the total? $36,000. So $3,600 a year roughly. So it's not a lot of money, but it describes how you can use it. It describes sort of the payback schedule, which again I've sort of gone over quickly. It mentions that the decision-making board with respect to, or the decision-making body with respect to oversight in these finances during the active time that we're actually working on the project is the Trammel Housing Rehab Board. That's formed of several members of the Trammel community, as well as Mr. Moore and Mrs. Kaiser, and Chris Rakes and Angela Rakes and other members of the county who sit on that board to just make decisions of how to govern this process as we go through the actual project. And then lastly, it talks about how the Dickinson County Treasurer should handle this money as it's coming in and collecting it and providing some kind of financial accountability so that that money is tracked and eventually when it's spent, how it's spent. So that's this first document that I'm asking you to adopt. Are there any questions from what you've read or from what I've said? And yes.
I have one, and it really does, I'm good with this.
Okay.
I asked you this a while ago, and I don't remember the answer to it. It was a long time ago. On this, is there a point where there's insurance and stuff on the homes that we're rehabbing?
Yes. So in order to rehab or to reconstruct the home, we require that that household gets insurance on that home. So yes, absolutely, there's
I thought there was. I just wanted to make sure because there's been a while.
What do you do if the homeowner doesn't have homeowner's insurance?
Then we require for them to get homeowners insurance. And we'll work with them to help them. And again, to speak to whoever it was who asked earlier, I'd love for that to be through an insurance company here in Dickinson County and not outside of the county. But we want to make it as affordable as possible. But yes, we do require that they insure that.
Well, I just want to make sure we're protecting the investment for those folks in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know you're not asking this question, but I want you to hear our part about the project is not just to protect it from a financial standpoint. We've done other projects where we've rehabbed homes, and in one case, as early as the day after we were done, people were taking the vinyl siding off their house and selling it to support other habits.
Yeah,
what do you do in that?
Well, and so what we're trying to do as a project is form a community management team, if you will, and talk about how can we build some accountability within the community to maintain all this work that's going into beautifying the community and to improving the homes there.
Very good.
So, but great question.
So I guess you need a adoption of the program income plan then.
I need adoption of the program income plan, and then once that's adopted, obviously I'll need the signature.
I'll make a motion we adopt the program.
Anybody else got
We have a
questions?
Oh, sorry.
Chairman?
No, I'm gonna make a motion. I
Oh,
was gonna see if Peggy.
I have a question.
Sure.
They have a sewage treatment plant there.
Yes.
That should be an indication, or do you plan to do any upgrades, or, I think it needs a fence around it.
There is a fence around it, actually.
Is there now?
There is a fence around it, and we did look at it as part of surveying the community. The treatment plant itself is actually in pretty good shape. The lot that's right next to it is just overgrown. And while we can't really include that in the work that we're doing for the grant, which has to do more with homes, we are talking as a community about keeping up with areas like that so that you don't have, these vastly...
And the water, they have their own water source too. And PSA, I assume, takes over the care of the treatment plant then. That's so.
You said there's problems with this growth in that, or?
No, there are,
On the
so,
lot beside all
there are what we call blighted properties in Trammel.
No, I knew about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So some of those properties, there actually isn't even that much debris anymore. There's some debris, but it's almost not visible because the weeds have grown up so much.
I got you.
And so what we're, for those properties that are under the grant, we're gonna completely clean them up, including, mowing them down or reseeding after we've removed the rubble, et cetera. But there are just a couple of outlayers that aren't technically, they don't qualify for grant monies, that it's mostly just someone taking a lawnmower in there on a semi-regular
Is
basis.
it possible, and this I would direct, well, I don't know if we have the right people here tonight. Maybe we can get some self-help from the work program.
Yep, certainly, yes.
Yeah, to help with those ones.
Absolutely, and there are actually, a couple of times a year, I think Vince Counts Community Center does it once a year, and then Mike Yates with the Trammel Baptist Church does it another time. They bring in volunteers from out of state to work to beautify properties there at Trammel, so we can use that as a resource as well.
So it's most of the work, the hills, the houses up on the hill, they are in pretty good shape. That's not gonna.
So, no, it's a good question. So, the maximum we could apply for was $1 million. And what we did was, after we surveyed the needs in the community, and we came up with a budget of what it was going to take to address all those needs, we determined $1 million wasn't enough. So instead of, sort of dropping what we can do for the entire community, we've broken the project into multiple phases. And so phase one is up until a certain property or certain lot in Trammel. And that's basically saying we want to do everything that we can do within the $1 million, and this is how many homes we can address for that much money. And then phase two, which is something that I'll be applying for the grant money either later this year or early next, will cover the rest of the properties. The ones that you're mentioning that are up on the hill, some of them are in better shape. There's a couple not so much, but truthfully, most of them still don't meet HUD quality standards, housing quality standards. And so they might require less, but we're trying to get everybody up to at least sort of a standard of housing quality in their home.
Thank you.
Sure.
You have a second, you have a motion, do you have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of adopting the program income plan for the revitalization project, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. I guess we'll move on to item B of 8B, the contract
Right,
execution.
so Peggy said she hoped to hear that it was signed already. This is the big one, right? So this is after a year plus of time trying to satisfy all the hurdles and requirements from DHCD. This is the actual contract between the county and Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, where they are agreeing to supply $1 million for the project that we specified in our application. And these are just all the contractual stipulations between the county and DHCD that we would have to adhere to. I know it seems, I don't know if it seems lengthy to you or not, it did to me, but most of it is fairly standard. It's just going through account, how you have to keep track of accounting records, how the money has to be spent, how we even are permitted to hire and employ people under the contract who can and can't be, et cetera. That's essentially what this document is. And without a signature on this, it's kind of like a mortgage on your house. No signature, no house. In this case, no signature, no project. So this is the most urgent document.
Mr. Phillips, are we prepared to execute that tonight?
Yes, you are.
I entertain a motion that we execute this contract. I think it's going to be a very big deal for Dickinson County. I thank Mr. Moorman for his work, but I'm ready for us to sign this thing. Do I hear a motion to execute the contract?
So moved.
Motion, do I hear a second? Motion and second to execute the contract. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well. Congratulations, Trammel.
Awesome. Now, just so you know, although we haven't officially, so all the work I've been doing for the last 18 months or more has been unpaid. And that's okay. That's an investment towards the Trammel community. But what I want you to understand is by saying aye and somebody signing, and they're going to actually start releasing funds. So this is really what allows us to get going. We've been mostly in planning, figuring it out, kind of stages, and now we're ready to go. We've actually been doing some work to get going already, but thank you for proving that. By the way, I'm really excited to see you here. I'm sorry I didn't say hi earlier, but last meeting, we didn't have a county attorney, and we're gonna need one for this project, so.
On behalf of our board, I want to thank you for being so open and easy to ask questions of, and I know Peggy and all of us are happy to see this project go forward and hopefully put some people to work in the county too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're gonna get to that. The last two items on the agenda that were added last minute, and thank you for doing that, are related to that issue. All right, the third item on the agenda is, and actually the next two items really are contractual agreements to hire certain functions related to the grant process and related to the project. These are critical functions. The first one you have on your list is a rehabilitation specialist. That is the person who is working closely on the ground with the contractors on a day-to-day, week-by-week basis, who actually will go into the homes with me, conduct thorough inspections of those homes. From those inspections, they create the actual, what's called a work write-up, but basically it's the specifications by which we bid it out to contractors to say, here's all the specific work that needs to be done. And we solicit those contractors, and it's how we evaluate their performance. That work write-up also becomes the basis for our contractual agreement with the homeowner. So that we've all agreed, this is exactly what we're going to do, and this is what we're not going to do to set expectations correctly during the course of the project. I would say second only to grant administration, this is probably one of the most important functions of the project. The cost of this contract is fully embedded in the budget. The $1 million budget that was submitted and approved by DHCD, so there's no money coming out of the county to support this function. Really all you're doing is acknowledging, you made a decision last year when we solicited for rehabilitation specialists to choose Anna Mead, and this is just her work contract, saying, yep, this is what you're going to do for us, and here's what we're going to pay you, and here's our pay for performance schedule, meaning you meet these milestones, and this is what you'll get paid as we go through the course of the project.
Anybody have any questions on that? Mr. Phillips, we're ready to go on that as well.
Yes.
Then I will make a motion that we accept the rehabilitation specialty service agreement.
Have a motion to hear second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of accepting the services, non-professional services agreement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No, it was.
Actually, it's the rehabilitation.
Okay, actually, I was reading off the agenda. I apologize, then. Let me rephrase that. Will you rephrase your motion, Ms. Kaiser, please, or restate it?
She said the right one.
I said the right one.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting Ms. Kaiser's motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Also, apologize about that.
Okay.
Now we're at D.
AD.
Right, now we're at the non-professional services agreement. This is essentially the contractual agreement between the county and People Incorporated, which is the organization I work for, to hire People Incorporated as the grant administrator and the project manager for the project. You actually signed this document, approved and signed this document roughly a year ago, but once it was submitted to DHCD, they said we need some federal stuff appended onto it in order for it to meet our requirements for contracts. And they also suggested we add a pay for performance schedule as well. Even though there was one in the last one, they wanted it to be a little bit more specific. So this is not a new document, it's actually a revision of one that was already signed. But because it's a revision, it includes those two things, one being the latter, probably 5 or 6 pages where it says attachment to all non-construction contracts, and it's mostly about equal opportunity employment, and then it includes this pay for performance schedule. So this is essentially what pays for the work I'm doing and the work that People Incorporated is doing on behalf of Trammel.
Oh, we have a large crowd here tonight. I want people, and I think the board does too, people know that the contractors that you hire will hopefully get preference that live in Dickinson County.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, so that's actually the next two documents I wanted to put on here are specific to the contractors we're going to hire. But I want you to hear and I mentioned this in our last meeting, but my goal, personally, because I feel very invested in the Trammel community and in Dickinson County, and I mean that sincerely, but my goal is I want as many people in the county to be hired as possible to work on this project.
We appreciate that.
Yes,
And I thought I'd reiterate something you said at an earlier meeting. Unfortunately, though, folks that live in that community are aren't eligible for
Right.
that.
So there are stipulations. They're not applied by people incorporated. They're, again, DHCD stipulations where there can't be conflicts of interest. So
And that's, I wanted to mention that so folks understand, because that can happen.
well, and candidly, you know, I've discovered as I work with Trammel, everybody's related to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's an awesome thing, but it can lead to some conflicts of interest, because if somebody's third cousin is a contractor who wants to work on their house in Trammel, they're unfortunately disqualified because of that conflict. You know, so now, that doesn't mean they're disqualified for somebody else's house that they're not related to, but there are strict rules we have to observe as we look. But absolutely, our goal is as many people here in the county as long as they're qualified. And I'll go over that in a second in the latter two documents. But yes, absolutely.
I'll make the motion that we approve the non-professional services.
I have a here motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the non-professional services agreement this time count. All those in favor of that, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well. Move on to item 8E now.
Great. And 8E and 9 are actually very related to each other. In fact, 8E is just the short version of the more detailed one of what's it, F, 8E and F. To get started, we need to put an ad in the paper. We need to actually solicit for contractors. So that's the smaller page that just has sort of this little, it's about a half page. This is the actual ad that we propose to put in the paper, and I would love, Teresa, if it's even possible, to get it in this Sunday's paper for the Bristol Herald Courier, but we want to get it in the local paper here as well. It's a big Star, I believe. Is that right? It's a Star in the, is it Coalfield Progress? Yes. Soliciting for qualified contractors. And you can read through it. Essentially what we're telling them is you have to be pre-qualified in order for us to consider you for the project. So if you want to get pre-qualified, here's the process of how to do it, to put your name in the hat, so to speak. So when we're ready to bid, which we're hoping is very soon, that these are the list of pre-qualified contractors we're going to submit bid packages to.
And is that for all type of, is that construction and destruction and,
Yes,
and everything?
yes.
Okay.
It is for all types of housing and rehabilitation. It's for building new homes, and it is for demolition of properties. Now, there are, you know, significant specializations beneath that,
right.
Like plumbing, HVAC, et cetera, so it's open to anyone. And we actually put ads in the paper, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 8 to 10 months ago, for several weeks, informing the general community that we are going to be bidding out this work. And we had a list of all the kinds of contractors specifically described that we were looking for. This is more sort of the umbrella of anybody who wants to work on this project. This is the process you have to go through. You have to go through it by this date in order to be considered. So get on it now.
And is it appropriate if we know certain people that are interested to refer them to you? Would
Absolutely
that be okay?
appropriate. Yeah, I've been encouraging people to do that for a long time. And we've already got a short list of people who, in the course of the months that have gone by, who've called and given their names and said, when it comes time, please talk to us. But yeah, I would love referrals. I would love to get a nice lengthy list. Now, the second document, because these are related, just so you know, this is actually the pre-qualification details, including a form. Most of this document is a form for those contractors to fill out. And it spells out for them, this is what we require in order for us to consider you as a viable bid or bidder on this project. So that's all these two documents are. The second document doesn't cost you anything. It's just something that we use, and I wanted you to be aware of, to pre-qualify contractors. All of that are stipulations that are provided to us by DHCD. The reason I wanted you to approve the ad is because it costs money. And so I need the board to authorize whatever the cost is, and I'm not sure what that is. I know it's varied widely.
Not cheap.
Sometimes it can be very expensive. And I really would like to get this in the paper as soon as possible. And so I'm asking the board to approve publishing this ad in the Bristol Herald Courier, as well as in the various local publications, which that'll be on Wednesdays instead of Sunday. But we want to get it out there and get going as quickly as possible.
along with the appropriation to do it, right, David? Along with the appropriation. It has to be a two-part motion, one to publish, the other is to appropriate the funds to publish it.
Okay, I make a motion that we publish it.
I'll second it.
Along with the funds to pay for the,
Could we,
Along with the funds to pay for it.
could we put a cap of $1,500 or something on it? I don't see that we need.
That won't be
They probably
possible.
want that with
Yeah,
the
that-
Bristol Herald.
And again,
Why do we have to use the Bristol paper, just out of curiosity?
there's a requirement from DHCD for it to appear in a local paper and a regional.
Regional.
paper. Yeah.
All right, Ms. Willis, do you want to rephrase your motion to include the appropriation part?
Yes, I did.
Okay, have a motion.
And I'll second
yeah,
that.
motion and second to advertise and to fund the advertisement for this. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well.
Now, I know I'm through my agenda, but if you just give me 2 more minutes, I'd like to give you a quick update, very quick update, so you know where we are. And I want to continue to apprise you of where we are. It came up earlier in the conversation, there are blighted properties in the community. They are sort of the low-hanging fruit for us to get started. The sooner we can demolish those properties and clean up those parcels, we're going to make a dramatic improvement in how Trammel looks. It also is going to free up some space for us for transitionary storage, if you will, as we're going to necessarily have to move some people out of their homes while we knock down their homes and build new ones and a place to put things. And so I share all this to say that, number one, we really need Chris Rakes. I don't know if he's here tonight. Are you here? Awesome. Really need Chris Rakes. He's the one who did all the initial field work with me. Really, he did most of it to do the inspections that created the budget for this project. But we need him to do the asbestos testing for all of those properties to figure out what mitigation needs to happen or not with respect to EPA guidelines if there is asbestos there. We already have the approvals for all but 2 of the properties. There are 13 that we're proposing to tear down and clean up. And Ron, you were here for this, and Shelby, last year, we talked about, the county passed a resolution that if there were certain property owners, for whatever reason, just weren't cooperating or responding, in this case it's mostly non-responsiveness, that the county was willing to move forward with making sure that they were taken care of anyway. And we do have 2. I'm not asking you to do anything about them tonight, but I want to put it on your radar that there are 2 holdouts, and it is more economical for the project, which means it's better for the county and it's better for the residents of Trammel if we can lump them all together and knock it all out in one shot. Now, that may not be possible, but again, I just want you to be aware that that's out there, and that I might be coming before you next month to ask what can we do about these 2 properties. I'm going to be working extra hard to get a hold of those people, talk to those people, to try to not have to go that route. But again, I just want you to be aware that that's there. But that's my hope, is that in relatively short order, we're going to start to see some progress there. And then the last thing, I didn't mention this last time, but I just wanted you to be aware, actually 2 things. We will be building a historic wayside exhibit in Trammel. It was part of our agreement with the Department of Historic Resources for the state of Virginia as mitigation for what we're doing to do that. I think that's awesome. It's a gateway community, and we're going to have this cool, it's essentially going to be a scaled down, half-cut diorama version of one of the original coal mining houses. The children and people can go and walk around and in and see and get a history, not just of Trammel, but of the rich coal history of this part of the state. And I just think that's a great thing, especially because they are the gateway community here. So I want you to be aware of that. The last thing is, you will probably see me next month because we're going to have 2 more documents for you to approve. So I'm just kind of putting them on your radar now. One of those is the comprehensive project plan for the project, because we want you to be very informed and okay with everything that we're planning to do and the time frame to do it. And the second one is what's called a program design. And that is sort of the administrative Bible for the project. That's how we choose whose home goes when, who's eligible, who's not eligible. I mean, it kind of goes through in exhaustive detail exactly how the project's going to be managed. So that will also be probably a part of your next meeting, I hope. We really don't want to go much longer than that.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Sorry to
you.
be so long. Appreciate all you're doing to support the work that we're
We're
doing.
really looking forward to seeing it start. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, moving on to number 9. This was sort of an addition at my request. Miss Melonie Baker, who is in my district, and along with Rita Surratt, have an idea to promote, since we've got the scenic designation, which Rita done a lot of work on, and it was a big deal. It just passed the General Assembly, thanks to Delegate Wampler carrying that, and then I think was it Mr. Chafin carried it in the Senate side.
Yes.
But anyway, it got passed. But anyway, I'll let you all take the floor. Thank you for being here and being patient, and if you explain what our ideas are,
Okay.
and we'll go forward.
Yeah.
Any questions?
We're just really excited that we got Pound River designation. Of course, we have to wait, I guess, for the governor to sign, and then we'll get a plaque like David, like we got on the Crane's Nest. This makes our 3rd scenic river in Dickinson County. So I don't know how many counties have 3, but we're really happy that we got it. And I do want to thank the board. Last year when I came to them and asked for their support so we could move forward on this Pound River, we partnered with Wise County, and so we have 17 miles of scenic river. And so when we did the study, we brought the people down from Department of Conservation and Recreation from Richmond. We got Rick from OAC, Outdoor Adventures. He took them down the river. And so when we went down the river, we had to do, for the study, we had to look at every possible thing along the river, the bridges, everything. So we're here tonight. Melonie, of course, her and Seth and a group, they love floating down the river. So
This is her idea, not
it was her idea to come, but so anyway, what we're asking, and we can't do anything without the support of our board, and David has been excellent to work with on every project that I've brought before the board. We've had really good luck, and we're just asking, and Melonie can tell you her idea, but we're just asking for your support. And when we move forward in this, we actually have to do like some searching on landowners and who we have to deal with to get launch ramps in down there. But we hope to get at least 3. 3 would be good. So.
And we picked out 5 different spots to go from. Some of it's probably on core property. And actually there's a couple of spots that the county already owns down there at Bearkin Swimming Pool. Mainly the first one because the water's already there, of course. That's where my husband and I put in, and we actually rode all the way to Pound River. And my little boy last year, Rhett, is 8 years old, and he did it by himself in his own kayak. So this is something for beginner kayaks. This is an opportunity for tourism that we have not tapped in on. Other counties like St. Paul with the Queens River Adventures and the Outdoor Adventure Centers that this Rick Barton has done. You know, we really have an opportunity here for another business in town. I mean, it'll be a seasonal business, but, you know, we could rent tubes like they're doing down in Hayside. There's lots of options for people to have an alternative for something to do in our town. And, you know, there's no sense in going to St. Paul or the Clinch River when we can do it right here in our own backyard. And I've done it. And it was a very fun trip, and it's beautiful right through there. So if anybody ever wants to ride from Bearpin down, I've got some kayaks I'll let you borrow.
I've got recreational money in my account, I think, that I want to help support her with this before budget. The reason I asked them to come now is to let this be on everyone's radar, that I want to support this
And like
any way
Rita
we
said,
can.
we're not sure how much the ramps are going to cost to build, but he's going to get us some numbers together, so maybe we can come back next time and ask for a definitive amount to get a couple.
Yeah, actually, Rick has he has built for Russell County. He has done some for them. So I thought if maybe we could get with him and meet with David and some of you on that, and kind of look once we get approval of where we can put those. And see, I think some of the costs will be really low, because if it's low, you know, near the river, it's not going to take that much. But
the soccer field's already got parking, and then even maybe the horse ring or an area right past the horse ring would be a good opportunity. We need some gravel and something to make a room.
And any way
a trash can and a bench.
Any way that we can help me, and I think everybody is in agreement, I want to help you any way we can, and I wanted to get it on everybody else's radar too.
Okay,
we don't need to vote or anything, but I just hope we'll all try to support them in this. This is a big deal, I think, and
Well,
a great
I
idea.
think it's a great thing for our children too, and, you know, something we can utilize and maybe do all across the county.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's what we did with training.
The next is item 10. This is Ms. Culberston. This is another request that was by me, that a person in the county that I feel has a lot of good ideas, and this is a very serious issue that I know many of you are not maybe as intimately familiar with as I am. Maybe you are. I hope you're not, frankly. But we have a severe methamphetamine crisis going on in the county right now. Literally daily, there are children being removed from families here in Dickinson County and placed into foster care. And Mr. Fleming here, he can back this up because he's fighting the best he can, and Mr. Newberry's not here. But we've got a serious problem here in Dickinson County, and we can continue to kick the can down the road, or we can try to grab it and address it the best we can. And this is something that I'm particularly passionate about for a lot of different reasons, but mainly because I see it every day. But again, we have a drug court program, and we fund that, and it's very good, but we need to do more. And I think Selena has some excellent ideas, and I've asked her to, again, come and present those and maybe get some ideas going toward our budget, which I know we're starting on in a couple of weeks. So thank you for being here.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me. I'm Selena Culberston, and I'm a 20-plus year human services worker, and I've worked in multiple capacities throughout Dickinson County since '97. My first job was at social services as a foster care social worker. Currently, I'm an in-home worker. I've done all kinds of stuff in between, drug court, I've been probation officer, case manager. Everything is revolved around the substance abuse misuse problem that we have in Dickinson County. And I guess the most, I don't want to say, probably my favorite job, or the job that I felt was most impactful, was when I was prevention worker with behavioral health. Excellent agency. Behavioral health has a lot of weight on their shoulders when it comes to addressing the substance misuse problem that we have, as does the Department of Social Services. I passed around some pictures 2 summers ago when I was a prevention worker, and if you want to pass them around so people know, audience here can see them, that'd be great. It's basically myself and one of the nurses at Behavioral Health. We formed a really good relationship with a lifelong IV drug user, lifelong issues with substance abuse. She was born addicted. I know that's probably not the correct term for it, but her mother used drugs, so since infancy and into adulthood. So she decided, at this point, she was in recovery. She was working programs, she was going to groups, she was in all these great, wonderful things. And she decided to tell us how she strategically placed all these needles throughout Dickinson County. So one day, our boss, it was Kevin Mullins, he gave us permission to go with this particular person, and we were out in town an hour and a half, I guess. During the hour and a half, we were able to collect, and she threw away, we took a sharps container with us. We didn't touch the needles, we let her do it. And she was able to throw away 9 needles within an hour and a half. And it was pretty much everything was within walking distance, hidden in plain sight, is like what we like to say. She was able to get drugs, but she wasn't able to get her needles. So she had them strategically placed throughout. And we praised her. That was brave of her to be able to remove those needles. She knew exactly where they were, and it's literally, they were right under her nose. And there were more. She said she had several hidden in guardrails. You know, how many kids do we have walking down the streets hanging on and playing on guardrails? You know, I don't know if they were infected with anything, but they could have been, and that's scary. In one of the local stores, it was in the bathroom. She dug under the sink. There's pictures, if you guys see those, of her in the floor of the stall, digging under the sink of the women's restroom. You know, so it's scary. It's very scary. We have a wonderful coalition. Absolutely. The Dickinson County Community Partners for Prevention Coalition. They work hard. It's boots on the ground. But we need to do more. More people need to be at the table. This is the problem. Substance misuse and economic development go hand in hand. We cannot address the positives unless we deal with the negatives, period. So my hope is more people can either go to the table, build on what the coalition already has established, or to develop some kind of task force. I know the state, I think it's Massachusetts, has developed, it's called a DART program. I think it's something like drug arrests, recovery treatment. And there's somebody that goes out with their sheriff's department, and somebody that's treatment oriented. And when they make a drug arrest, they're immediately referred to treatment, automatic. Whether it's through the jail, if they're going to be arrested, or if they're going to be bonded out, it's a requirement, you know. And we need a group of forward-thinking people to come together and let's just be creative and figure out how to deal with what's really going on. This isn't a perceived problem. This isn't something that we anticipate happening. This is real.
Of the inmates that we pay for, all of us as taxpayers in the county in Hayside Regional Jail, what percentage would you say are drug related?
Oh, I don't know. Jeremy would probably
90%.
I don't know.
What I'm saying is we're paying. I mean,
yeah.
That's how much, John, is our regional jail budget? $1.5 million? But we need to address this. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, Selena.
Yes.
What other programs are going on in the community that you know about?
The drug court program is absolutely wonderful.
That one I know.
Absolutely, I love any
But
and
we
all.
also have some outreach like AA and NA.
We do have some AA and NA
and I wanted to mention, Alan's here. We at the BFW we host those folks out there.
What do we need to do different?
We need leaders on. We need leaders on board. I mean, that's the bottom line. Leaders need to be showing up at coalition meetings. Develop maybe even some subcommittee. The local coalition, the partners coalition, they can't do everything. You know, so we need people to really just show up at the table. Let's put our minds together. I know people don't like or maybe not understand comprehensive harm reduction programs because this is not something happy. It does talk about needle exchange. You know, people don't like that. But guess what? Look at these pictures. They're here. If we had a needle exchange program, maybe they wouldn't be.
Have we reached out to any of our churches? I know we have.
There are churches. We've got a Celebrate Recovery group. Nancy, do they still meet here? On Thursdays. Yeah, on Thursdays.
I've been to a couple of the meetings. I think Wise County has a needle exchange program.
It's doing great.
What's their statistics on?
I'm friends with Dan Hunsucker.
It's very controversial.
It is very, and I get why it's controversial. I get it. But look at the pictures. It's here.
Now, Wise County has theirs because the health department requested it.
Dr. Cantrell.
The health department has to request that we give out needles.
I'm not asking to go door to door and give out needles by any means. I'm just saying we need to explore it. You know, but we need a group of people, a task force group, subcommittee. I don't know what we want to call it.
Ma'am, hold it. Ma'am, Parliamentary inquiry.
Well, I
Mr. Chairman, she.
read the other day that
Go ahead, public comment.
hepatitis C is rampant in Dickinson County and Wise County and.
That's what I'm saying. We've got to.
That's why Wise County.
Right now, the CDC, and I did pull this. I was going to pull more data, but I didn't. I didn't know how much time that I would have. Really didn't know what information everybody wanted. But
No, it's okay. I just wanted
this year, you know, the CDC identified 220 counties at risk for outbreaks for HIV and hepatitis C as a result of IV drug use. Guess where Dickinson County is?
Up there.
29 out of 220.
And employers
We are high risk, yes. And it's, you know, I mean, we've got to do something. If we want to bring in industry here, and I constantly hear people, and I argue with them sometimes, but that industries won't come here because we can't employ or meet the demands of the employment. And I have a hard time believing that because I have a 24-year-old son that has to go out of town. He's home 1 week out of the month, and he's got many friends that are the same way. He would love to be here. He would love to be home. But to make a livable wage, he can't. He can pass a drug test. His friends can. You know, so I just feel like we all have to come together. We have to put our heads together. I feel like join the coalition. Be part of the coalition, but we need something else in addition.
Well, the other part of this, Selena, I think families got to be trained.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Because if the family members, not in every case, will be the first ones that knows the problem. And they need to know what to do because I've dealt with it in my family. And I can tell you my brother's recovered, been good for 10, 15 years now.
Amazing.
And it changed his life. But unfortunately, damage was done to the next generation.
Absolutely.
And that's heading down a bad road to where the next generation after that's already hurt.
My ultimate goal eventually, I don't know when, I've been looking at some grants, I've had conversations with Mitzi. I would love to open a sober living transitional housing, specifically for women. And the reason that I would like to focus on women is because most of these women have children. I don't want it to be a treatment facility. I don't want to have a doctor there. I don't want to have, I want it to be a supportive program where if social services has custody of their kids and they need to do all these different things, parenting skills, whatever, that they're able to come to this home and we can teach them parenting skills. They don't have to be licensed to do that.
Selena,
Yeah.
I know I haven't been down to behavioral health, not
Yes.
defending what you're doing.
Oh,
But anyway, I've met with some of them, and they are trying to get some grants to get housing for both male and female. And I've been down there discussing it.
And like,
Okay.
it's cyclical. I mean, because how many families, when you were in social services work, I mean, mom, they were in foster care, and then now they're in foster
Well, now it's
care.
great grandparents raising
And
great
we've got
grandkids.
to break the cycle
We have,
somewhere.
we have.
But,
I feel like we could just be doing more.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well,
And we spend a lot of money on the
Rehab.
end result instead of trying to stop it from getting to the end
Yes.
result.
people have got to be willing to help. My husband has mentored a young man for many months. And I was reading also about, it doesn't have to be a medical professional. If someone is overdosed in their emergency room, it's called a mentoring program. Someone's there to watch after that person and help that person through their recovery process. So, he's been quite active in helping this young man. Now, has there been problems and relapses? Yes. But, it is a big problem. I don't think there's a family here that has not been touched by drug overdose. My family has. I have 2 or 3 that have died from drug overdose. And I was reading the other day, the biggest thing now is this fentanyl thing. You can just take one touch of it and you can kill, it doesn't take much and it's cheap. And they're importing it in, since the doctors have become, so you can't hardly get any opiates now, But they're turning to something that's cheap, which fentanyl is cheap, but it's also very dangerous and causes many deaths.
Well, and that goes to the simple supply and demand. You can decrease the supply if you want to. The demand's still there. If we're not touching that,
It's cheap.
Does anybody, do you have anything else?
No.
I think-
I would like for y'all to continue this discussion, and if there,
Yes.
there can be some kind of group established, something. I'm happy to be part of it. That is one of the things that I am passionate about.
And me too, and that's why I wanted you to come,
Yeah.
just so we could sort of kickstart. This is a problem that we need to share the responsibility in, so, if nobody else, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you, Selena.
Move on to item 11, roads. I guess we want to do it by district. Does anyone, I'll start with Ms. Willis, does anyone from the Kennedy district have any road concerns they would like to bring up to the board right now? Anyone from the Clintwood district have any road concerns that they would like to bring up right now? Yes, sir.
Not sure if it's Clintwood, I think it's Clintwood district. Tiki George Hollow.
Yes.
Camp Creek, the sign there that I have a personal interest in that at this time, but the sign that designates where what the road is, that's Route 623. Tiki George Hollow, that the sign, the road sign needs to be put back up that in.
Also, I think we have, David, is it not true that we're scheduling a meeting for the four-way intersection there?
Yeah, we are trying to get that
See
established
what we
for
see if
Monday.
something can be done to make it safer. That was one of my, I live on County Ridge. You come off there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's very dangerous. You come off at 3 o'clock, it's very dangerous. Yeah, I think we have scheduled a meeting with administrators from Bristol to talk about
Yes.
four-way intersection. I just want to throw that in. I'll see if I can sign mine.
Anybody else from the Clintwood district? Anybody from the Willis District have any road concerns? Mr. Mullins, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. On Route 607 below Don Askins,
Yes, sir.
there's been several wrecks there over the year. It's occurred with the graveyard up on the hill. And, it's a very dangerous spot. My wife drove there all day. And, that's been a few years back. There've been several wrecks. There's no shoulder actually there. Most of us that travel that road knows, I'm sure Attorney knows that. Mr. Quinn, sure knows exactly what I'm talking about there. And so next, when you drop off there, you just go over, that's it. There's no sort of.
Maybe some guardrail then, do you think?
Well, if there's room there to put guardrail, they may have to build something, needs to really be built right there. That whole little section right there, it's not too long. It needs to be addressed that way.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mullins. I'll try to look into that. Anybody else from, yes, sir, Mr. Vanover?
But you know about where I live at too.
Yes, sir.
It's actually just right in the same area where he's talking about there. But you know, we've had to have 3 pulled out of our front yard. We've got people correct about through there. And the problem is people come through there and there's kind of a little straightaway through there, and I guess they're sick and tired of the wider roads, and they hit that and they kind of start getting on it a little bit, and then come back in those steep curves again, and just can't hang on to it. And like I said, we've had it pulled out of our front yard, so along with the neighbor as well. They've had to put those calls, no problem. People come through their yards and that's it. So it really won't help.
What do you suggest? Do we need to try to get that
Basically
guardrail?
I did contact VDOT once upon a time, and they actually sent a fella out, and I never heard from them again.
You know what his name was? Do you
No,
remember?
I don't.
Okay. I'll check on that guy. I know that that's something you'd mentioned to me a couple of times, and I've not forgotten.
I talked with him in a while, he came out there, looked around a little bit, and basically just agreed with everything I said,
But didn't fall through.
never heard from him again.
Was it Joey Mullins?
Yeah, that's it.
It may have been.
He's the one that comes out and checks the guardrails.
There was a little bit of an issue with him. He was talking about where the water line runs beside the road.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they just wouldn't do a whole lot until they found out where the water line was at. And as far as I know,
Can't have so many feet.
y'all just need to understand what I'm talking about.
Well, I'll promise you that I will look into it, Mr. Vanover. Thank you. Anybody else from my district or Willis district have any road concerns? Oh, goodness. Well, I promise you. Was he driving fast? I'll definitely try to look into that. Thank you so much. Okay. Anybody else from the Willis district have any?
Pound River could use some attention too, from all the flooding, Laura's kind of washed out pretty bad. They have been trying to work on it, but I guess it's low priority because there's not a lot of traffic except for when the campground's open.
Right.
But it'd be dangerous to pull.
Is there like a lot of debris on the road,
Well,
or is it?
it's just washed out. It was pretty bad. I would be afraid to pull a camper through there right now. I wouldn't want this. We drive that way though.
Right.
On my their house, so.
Anybody else from the Willis district? From the Sand Lake district?
Anyone from Sand Lake District got a road issue?
Can I just read off of here?
You can.
Okay. I live on Loop Circle. It's on Big Ridge Road. I live with my husband, my 2 young children. They're 2 and 5. On Thursday, February the 6th of 2020, we had the massive amounts of rain resulting in flooding, mudslides, road closures, as well as main water lines to break. My house is right in front or behind of the loop. During the morning, the excessive amounts of rain, it did cause the oversaturation of the ground. It resulted in a massive mudslide, a main water line to break, and part of the road to fall in my home, burying part of my central air unit, my back porch, rendering my back porch unusable, and showing some of the main water line still. My back porch is now putting so much pressure on my house it has ruined my underpinning and has caused my house to shift. We were told to evacuate and clear the rest of the hillside and road to fall, pushing my home completely over the hill. We are not able to use the road anymore. The mail, trash pickup, UPS, and FedEx are refusing to run. My direct neighbor is disabled, and my neighbor at the end of the loop has 2 small children as well, ages 5 and 1. Emergency and first responders would be unable to or would have extreme difficulty rendering aid if need be. The road is heavily damaged, but the possibility of a vehicle falling on my home would end up killing my 2 children, my husband, or myself. I have already witnessed a driver move the cones so they could drive by, causing more of the road to fall. I have lived in my home for 9 years and 4 months, and this is not the first time the road or hill has fallen. I have contacted both VDOT and the county for assistance, but resulted in either no response, being ignored, or even told it wasn't their road. I will no longer be ignored or forgotten. My children's lives are at stake. I was told the estimated cost of repairs would be between $10,000 to $15,000. I'm not able to afford this, nor should I be. I am requesting your help to not only help me, but my family and everyone else who either lives on the loop or uses it. I do have pictures and videos of the first mudslide all the way up to the present one, including videos. About 30 years ago, VDOT did put in a culvert to redirect and prevent runoff from the main road going into the basement of an apartment, and the culvert is continuously being filled by the gravel on the sides of the road. And my husband, who's sitting beside me, has had to dig it out multiple times, which he should not be responsible to do. I do have homeowners insurance. I have contacted them, but they say that mudslides are categorized under floods. And where we are not in a flood zone, they would not provide us that insurance. So I'm just asking you guys to please help.
Can I see your pictures? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sarah, yeah, we've got something later on the agenda. We're trying to work it. I want you to know that, because we've got a request for funding from social services.
Richie, have you been out to their place?
So,
Thank you.
I hope you don't feel I've been ignored. I've been out there.
No.
I've been down out of state.
I know. But I hear your need.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Richie's got the pictures.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got pictures as well.
That's all, we're on it.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, and it's been an ongoing thing every time we have these rains. But we hadn't been able to help in the past.
Well, that's
Now we're
something we need to
breaking
get on
through
the Coal Road.
Well, I agree. We gotta do something, but we're gonna have to do something else.
That main water line is actually running right through there, and when that land had shifted, it busted the water line.
Broke it loose.
Yeah, and it just went haywire. I mean, I had water hitting the house, and it was bad.
We had a guy from that social service contact go out and do that estimate. And the problem they're gonna run into, and it's a difficult one,
Yeah.
they've gotta work around that water line, because they need to build that up with probably those wire cages with stone and that.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sure
it's,
PSA will work with them on that. But we hear you. You're
Yeah,
not gonna
we
be
do hear.
ignored. We're overwhelmed with the flood, not making any excuses, but we're doing, I promise you, you're not ignored, okay? And Mr. Peters, nobody's
Yeah,
gonna
we've been
ignore
on
you.
it. I've been over there and that's what I told you we had to wait till tonight. And I'm glad you came, because I said that's important
I
too.
barely made it here. I come from Washington, Pennsylvania.
I understand. We had a previous board member that was doing that, and I know you're out of town.
I can put your pictures.
Was there any more first, are you finished, Sarah?
Yes, I
Okay.
just get ready to pull.
Yeah,
Okay,
bring them
go
up here.
ahead.
I'd like to see
Go
them,
ahead.
but
You came up and looked at my air road going up Audie's Branch.
I did, and I've called that in as well.
Okay.
Hopefully we're gonna get to address that.
Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, they've been contacted, and they're waiting on us to fund it. We gotta look and see if we got the money. Okay, and I'm glad you're out here tonight.
Thank you.
Is there any others from Sandlin? Go ahead.
Since you've been out, Ron.
Yeah, I just recognize you with the hat.
My culvert's got a full-size hole in it, and I can barely get my car over it.
Oh, no.
And then, it was washed out at the top. It's worse now.
We may have to do something different on that one, Susan.
See, I'm disabled.
And I may have to
And
try
if
to figure out
happens,
something.
if I go into diabetic shock, I can't get an ambulance down
I'd like to. See, all these I've been to, and I just got a call for another one tonight, so not all of them come in.
I'd like to review our policy so we could do a little more.
Yeah.
I mean, we're.
So that's the road is where we gotta do that too.
Can't you rethink the
Don't
policy?
cover much.
What?
Can't you all rethink the policy for the road?
Well, that's what we're talking
Well, I
about.
would love
That's
to.
what we're talking. I'd like to see action this
Yeah,
time.
the neighbor came out and he said that, there's another gentleman that's 92 that lives on top of the mountain, and he's all by himself.
Where was that at? Did he give a road?
Pardon?
Did he give a location?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Phillips, would
You
you
can find out, Rob, let me know.
would you mind to explain to our audience sort of that we don't own roads in Dickinson County. They're all VDOT owned roads, and
Not
just
Swinging
sort of our.
Bridge Lane, Josh.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mine's on Swinging Bridge Lane.
Yeah. Sarah, did you have, oh, sorry.
It's deeded to 6 people, but I'm the only one that maintains it.
So you've got a private driveway then, or?
No, it's a 911 address. I'm sorry, I should have.
No, it's all right. I want to help you.
Yeah. Sarah, did you have something else?
You said that VDOT owns all the roads, is that correct?
No, they don't. You're, they don't, and that's what we need to clarify.
Yeah.
You got county and you got VDOT.
Well, we don't have any county.
We don't have any. That's what I mean. We don't
Yeah,
own.
we don't have any county roads.
Oh my God.
And general rule, if it's gravel, it's gonna be, private.
Gosh, I'm so sorry to get
Now,
your
there is
hiccup.
an exception. I found one exception in our district, Rocky Gap Hollow. Delano, you may know of another one. I just don't know it yet. No,
We'll
I've
do
never
what we
been
can
called
to
on
help
it.
you, okay? Yeah.
It's state maintained. You know, if it's state maintained, if there's a sign with a route number, and then usually at the end, they'll have a route number. Yours isn't, but we're gonna look at seeing what we can do.
As I said on PSA, and I know they.
It was originally the road. From what I was told, David Yates and me talked about it.
Is that the road right there?
You're not. We're on it.
Yeah.
I promise you. If we can, we'll help you any way we can.
Yeah, I mean, I can't put a gate on my driveway or nothing because it's public access. But I have to maintain it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
over the years, I've probably drafted numerous memoranda and legal documents to the board explaining all the issues that your citizens are talking about tonight. And there is a compilation of those opinions that I have that
Yes, we would. Yes.
that is available, and I think hopefully it's been given out. Has it, Madam Clerk, that letter that we looked at the other day? Yeah, so all of them need to get a copy of that letter. It's from your prior attorney, but what he did was took my prior opinions and compilated them into about a 2-page letter that basically describes to you all the things that you can do and all the things that you are prohibited by doing by law. But it takes into consideration a lot of the issues that they're talking about tonight, so it is available to you.
I mean, if I had my druthers, we'd just send the backhoe and some gravel out there and fix it. But we can't. We just can't. But we'll try our best to help you any way we can. Okay.
That's legal.
Yes, ma'am. That's legal. But if we need to amend our policy though to make it legal, then we need to try to do that because there's a lot of people hurt right now. So, Peggy, you want anybody from the Irvington district here with the road?
Back up to Selena.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry about that.
Need some potholes on backbone.
Potholes on that.
Yeah. Go from one, start from one end, go to the other.
Yeah. No, it's both ours.
Okay, and the sign there is for Dolly House Lane and backbone. That probably needs to be looked at and probably turned to indicate
Twisted.
the way it should be indicated. And then you got runoff down there at Cecil Virgins, that water that's coming off of that driveway running across the road.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have issues later on if that continues.
I know where that is.
Right, I figured you did.
That's my district, though, ain't it?
It is. Okay,
Thank
so
you,
we
Ron.
don't, oh, you're welcome. So we don't get ahead of ourselves. Is there any others saying?
Sorry.
Yeah, I knew all these other ones. Ken, I just got that, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, you talked to me a while back on it.
I did.
Yeah. Your turn.
Anybody in the Irvington district have any road concerns?
I do. Start with Dyer's Chapel coming up the mountain. It's probably, I bet it's maybe 10 feet wide now for the bus to go through. And there's big barrels and stuff, and most of them go on the hill. Very dangerous when the kids go down through that bus. I know Peggy's aware of it and everything else, but it needs to be fixed yesterday. I mean, because it's dangerous for the kids. Not just the people that live up there, but for the kids. I mean, the church got flooded out real bad during the flood. I know there's floods everywhere, you know, but that road's dangerous for the kids. And you go up on the mountain, and you guys want to attract new taxpayers in here, new people. Well, I've come here 10 years ago. I developed a place back up off Sutherland Ridge off of Roos Road. Well, Roos Road now has 11 residents living on that road in houses, more than Sutherland Ridge has. Okay, there's 13 kids now, little kids, that have to walk 1.5 miles out to their bus stop. I don't know. Years ago, we used to be able to do that as kids, but now you can't trust people without taking your little kids. So it's all gravel down Roos Road, all the way back. My mother lives back there. She's 88 in her own house. The ambulance can't even get back there if it's bad. Now it's just getting full of potholes real bad again. And we need to do something about that road. I've gone through the supervisor a couple of years ago. We got everybody to sign off at the houses so they can maintain the roads. Well, there's still nothing done. I get one load of gravel, I think, on a mile-long road each year, and that's it. And they said they're going to number the road so VDOT can start maintaining it, but the county was supposed to start maintaining it until they get that done. And it's not done. I'm telling you, we got 11 residents, and they're all big taxpayer money. I got 4 houses on that mountain myself. I pay taxes on it, and I just need support from Dickinson County as well. If I want to keep staying there and keep buying houses and renting them out, and there's people that live in the houses, my personal family as well. And got Charles Sutherland lives up there with his brother Euless, and he's in his 80s, and he's handicapped. I mean, the ambulances in the winter, they can't get down that road in the winter. They just can't. I mean, many a days. And you got Rick Sutherland, his wife, and 2 kids. Megan Sutherland, her husband, there's 6 little kids now back there. And they got to walk out to the bus stop, and they could get on right there in front of Charles's. You got Richard Marshall, Bill Marshall, myself, my wife. My daughter lives further back from me off of Cypress Lane. This is all off of Roos Road with her 2 kids and her husband. My mother lives across the street from me. I got Joe lives next door to her. Ronnie Comey lives back there. Mike Little lives all the way to the back with 4 kids. And he can't half the time get out there and get them on the bus. That's what I'm saying. We need to look out for these kids in this county, and we're not doing it. How are they going to get on the bus if they can't get out in the winter because it's not maintained? I think 11 residents, what is it, 7 houses now on the road for it to be maintained?
30.
Well, there's 11 houses, 32 people, and 13 kids on that road now.
Well, let me explain some things.
I agree with you.
I agree, but to me, me personally, I don't care if there's 11 or 12 or 1, everyone deserves to be taken care of. But unfortunately our hands are tied in some ways. I wanted to first explain, we can send the grader out and work those gravel roads, but they have to be 3 or more houses, and they can only go up to the next to the last house. Because it's considered driveway from there on. So if it's 9 houses, they go up to the 8th house. And that's provided everyone on that road has to sign an agreement.
We did all that.
That we're not liable because we're doing that work through the county.
Right, we did
Now,
all
as
that.
far
We
as
signed it all.
I wanted to explain, so you should have been able to get it.
And it should be gravel from the start to the end. I don't really.
Well, let me explain the gravel. The way the
I have a
gravel.
53 tractor, you guys, and that's on its last leg. I'm the only one that can work on that road. The only one. And it's just ridiculous
But
for me to have to work.
I understand that, but on the gravel, we've been allocating $1,000 since I've been in office. We didn't have it the first year for district, so that helps about 3 houses. And initially, we were talking about cemeteries that have, the rule for cemeteries, that has to be 10 or more graves, and it can't be locked up for us to send a grader or gravel. And I do a lot of funerals for the VFW, so I asked some of my guys, because they've been doing it for years, how many cemeteries just in the Sand Lake District, and there's 80. Now, I want, putting all that in the picture, that's 3 places we can go a year, and I can tell you, we try to spread it out and give to different people as we can. But we do have some areas, but I agree there's not enough money there that's helping us.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to explain the rules, but and then I think, Ken, I meant to say something to you on paved, potholes and that. I've called a couple in recently, and they're not really doing anything this time of the year, so we may have to wait till it gets a little, when they start doing the asphalt and that.
Right.
So when you see that weather change, go ahead and call me again, and I'll call it in, but I can't. I want to stay on it.
I figured I'd bring it to your attention, because it don't do a bit of good to go to Roger up there at the VDOT.
Yeah.
I've been up there to him for the last 4 years, and you might as well write it on a piece of paper and sling it out the window.
Well, and then if you don't hear something, call me again. I'm open to phone calls.
Okay.
And I didn't mean to. I want to make sure you understand the rules, but I agree with you. I haven't seen us take any roads in, get any added to the state yet. Have you seen any, Shelby, in a while?
No, I haven't.
Why not? Why are
They're not taking them in.
Why are they not taking them in?
Money.
No,
Well-
how are they gonna grow the county if they don't take?
Well,
roads and
here's
pave
what
to live in?
here's what I
They
tell
have
you.
to have a 40-foot right-of-way from everybody on that road before VDOT will even consider putting it on a
And it's a
secure
cost.
plan.
They got it, they got everybody signed up.
40-foot right-of-way?
40-foot right away, yes, everybody signed up.
You need to
Do you got a copy of it?
You got a copy of the...
No, they should have it at the.
Okay, here's what I wanted to
Has to
also
be
say on that.
notarized.
I recognize there's been a problem because I get the same thing in my district.
Yeah.
One of the things, the road committee, we sit down with those guys. I want to relook at how that meeting's set up and see what we can do. Yeah. Because I don't feel, we were kind of uncomfortable back in December or November when we seen what came out and what roads got touched.
We're definitely going to reorganize.
We want to
We went to the cemetery at the bottom of the mountain as well. We went back there, there's a river beside the road there. It goes to the Dyer's Chapel Cemetery, and there's over 30 graves in that cemetery. So they discovered that they can maintain it.
Yeah.
Well, I've had one load of gravel down there in the last few years too.
But-
They cleaned it out because it flows back to the guy's house, and it was up on the road and all the way down that road.
But the problem is there's not enough money.
We're going to have to do a serious education.
One load of gravel in 3 years is doing pretty good when you consider how many other people. I'm not saying you should be happy. Yeah, I'm not saying you should be happy at all.
No, I do understand.
All right, well, Ms. Kaiser, I'm sure Ms. Kaiser will be more than welcome to come meet you and go over that. And what we're going to do, we have a coal road advisory committee that I'm a new member on that, and we're going to really try to work hard to do better with our money. We do have money there that we have to plan out though, and I'm sure Peggy, I have no doubt she will tend to your every need and question.
Yeah, that's on my road.
Absolutely,
I just
so.
don't understand why VDOT won't add any roads.
We're not VDOT, so we don't know, but all I can do is tell you what we can do.
Actually, have a meeting with VDOT
We have one actually scheduled next week, David, I believe.
next week.
That's not a coal road meeting.
No, I understand
But
that,
it is a
but-
VDOT meeting, and we will bring that.
And we will
Exactly.
bring that up. That's what I was gonna tell you, that with this meeting, I'll tell VDOT Monday or ask them or give them, and I'll get all that. I probably know all the names without you giving them to me because they're in my back door, but.
We may not help you tonight, we may not help you next month, but we'll try to help you.
And be prepared, we may have to revisit the right-of-way thing because we got to see if they got it.
Yes, sir. Okay, we're gonna try to move the meeting along here a little bit. Anybody else in the Irvington district have any concerns? Anybody else? All right, we're gonna move on to item 13. It's a proclamation.
Item 12.
12, I'm sorry, public comment. I apologize. Move on to item 12 for public comment. If you want to, like to come to the, and the podium is up here to your left, if anybody wants to come speak.
That's your name? Name. She said name.
Good evening. Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Members of the board, supervisors, and Mr. Moore, Mr. Phillips, it's good to see you. My name is Phyllis Mullins, and I am president of the Dickinson Education Association. The association represents and serves as an advocate for Dickinson County Public Schools, professional and support staff. This evening, if you will notice, we have several of our staff members who are in attendance, and we're wearing red. This is in support of the Dickinson County Schools and support for funding the education of our students. And Dickinson County Schools, tell you a little bit of our accomplishments, is the second largest employer in Dickinson County. We have approximately 315 full-time employees serving our students in grades pre-K through 12. We have a dedicated and committed staff who are invested in our children, from our teachers to our administrative staff, our bus drivers, school counselors, cooks, custodians, secretaries, nurses, maintenance staff, and coaches. All of us play a significant role in the success of our children and our schools. Last year, Dickinson County ranked 24th in SOL test results out of 133 school divisions in the Commonwealth. In state rankings, our students ranked 22nd in reading, 8th in writing, 15th in math, 2nd in grade 5 math, and 2nd in world history. The high school graduation rate for our students is 95.17%, and the dropout rate is a very low 3.42. This is just a few of the successes that our children and our school division has accomplished. On behalf of the Dickinson Education Association, I would like to ask you to support, to fund the future of our county, which is our children's education. Every child in Dickinson County deserves a 21st century education. Our children in Dickinson County deserve all of the same educational opportunities that other children in Virginia have. This evening, we have for each of you a red t-shirt with the words, Red for Ed, Support Public Schools. Thank you for supporting our vision and providing the best educational opportunities for our children. We want to help them to achieve their highest level possible. When you consider local funding, please don't forget what you're getting back from our investment in education and the accomplishments of our students and our staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have anyone else? And I forgot to read, just to expedite our meeting, there is a 3-minute time limit. I mean, we try to be as liberal as we can. If anybody's here and wants to say something, good or bad, I don't want anybody to not have that opportunity, but it's already been a late meeting, so we're going to try to hold to the 3-minute timer. And so,
I knew you would. So I sort of typed it out. I'm going to try to say it a little quicker than what's on here. And I hope everybody wants to hear it. It is a different opinion from a lot of people. But I think it's very important.
did you introduce yourself? I'm sorry.
I'm Jerry Gardo. Most people know me. I was in the WAC as an officer. 6 in my family served almost 70 years. The high school graduate made lieutenant colonel. My sister was a captain, and I was a lieutenant. So mostly when I saw about the militia, the word came to me, and I'll tell you what that word is in a minute, but when our legislators are down in Richmond working about lessening danger, there was a shooting in Virginia Beach, took 12 people. They used a silencer. It was hard to locate the shooter, and it was hard to know where to flee. And they were talking about red flag law. Well, over in the community where I come from, the neighbor was just arrested for stalking, brandishing firearms, and some other stuff. She bothers all neighbors, including us, and we hope they can take her gun. She screams outside her house for an hour a day. I mean, it's pretty bad. So red flag law is to help take a gun when somebody is in terrible throes. I have took a shotgun from somebody's hands that was going to do suicide. My husband was a social worker and took a loaded pistol from a woman. You're not supposed to do that, but he saved a life. And both of these individuals lived to see their children grown. So when I bring up sometimes the number of deaths in our state from guns, people will say, well, it's suicide. Well, I love people. I don't want their children to have a parent that's killed herself. You know, that kind of stuff. My niece was out in Las Vegas 2 years ago. They were going to a musical event, a reunion, at the Hotel Mandalay. At the last minute, they decided to go to another venue. Maybe it was country music. And if they had stayed there, they had a chance of 1 in 14 of being killed, wounded, or hurt in the melee. 58 people, it was 50, well, it's 59 now, people were killed, 431 wounded, and others hurt. And nobody estimates the cost. You lose people you can never replace. The cost of those wounds by assault, those wounds are unlike 22s, 33s, and things that we knew. You're lucky to live through a wound from assault guns. And where I come from, we think that the assault weapons need to be left on the battlefield. Sports guns, shooting skeets, that's fine. When I was in the WAC, there was a woman that joined because she was excellent shot. And she won, I guess, or tied with the top shooter in the military. But, you know, if you enjoy that, that's fine. But when you say we need a militia because somebody's talking about the red flag law, what guns to have, and so on, I really think that word is subversive. And that's a strong word.
Ms. Scardo, I hate to not let you speak, but
I know.
it's beyond
Just let me
agreement.
say it another
Yes,
little,
ma'am.
a little bit. I know where you are. I know a lot of people are pro-gun.
And I don't want to argue. I'm just okay. Go ahead. Finish
Well,
up. Yes, ma'am. I don't want you to not be able to speak.
Well, when you think of a militia, I would think very long and hard about it. I wouldn't do that. We have the sheriffs. We have a lot of fine people. We have the Army. We have the National Guard. And I just want to get one little closing thing here. I don't think our school kids should have so little safety that they are trained what to do if the shooter enters. I've been trained this. The Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School students have it right. And the last thing is, why would anyone oppose what the General Assembly is trying to do to make people safe?
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Thank you.
I want to say thank you for your service.
Hey y'all, I'm Heather Law. I love you guys, but I'm not here to talk to you guys. Okay? All right. My important the people I think are incredibly important are you guys. Today I come in and we've heard about we got a horrible economy here. Anybody, please, somebody tell me it's great. Somebody argue me on any statement. Okay? Because our economy is really bad. We have severe problems with substance abuse. Severe. We have problems everywhere from waste management, everywhere. Now let me give you a little bit of background on me. Even people who know me, I've just recently found out, people who know me don't know what I'm doing and don't know what I've been in school for. Currently, I'm a master's. I have a master's degree in business administration. By the end of the year, if my advisor agrees, but by the end of the year, I should be Dr. Heather Lyle, specialized. Now, let me back up. I'm a Lyle off of Edwards Ridge. All right, I graduated. I am a proud graduate of Hayside High School. I was in the marching band. All right? So, I've been involved with these great women. Julie Walters Steele from Virginia Tech. Awesome. Beth Flowers. She was the creator of this wonderful, great program. And what this program does is it gets artists. I went in as a business person. I was changed. Business people think analytically. We think about money. We think about tax dollars. We think about everything in its own little category. But artistic and creative people, normally they don't get along great with business people. But what if in Dickinson County we created what's called a creative economy? Now I want to see a show of hands. I want to ask for participation. I want to say something, and I want to see, when you raise your hand, keep it up. How many people in here sew? How many people cook? How many people paint? Keep your hand up. If you're raising it, you keep it up, girl. See now. So, how many people? Okay, so that's how many people play music? There's awesome. Tyler, have you ever noticed that all the treasures you have in there can actually, if you work with them a little bit, paint them up, could turn into art? Art that was formed from a man in Dickinson County that sold bigger and better. So everybody in here admits they've got some type of creative ability, right? Painting, sewing, everything, right? Look at what we're doing. If you put your hand down, it's okay, thank you. So, but in this county, if we involve our creative economy, then guess what? People in recovery will have something to do. Okay? Right. Hey, have you ever been to Patrick County? Yeah, that's what I'm bringing in. Because of my education, my background experience, Julie Walters, and Beth Flowers, they let me bring this into Dickinson County. I am so excited. You guys cannot imagine. My husband found a brand new woman, and I want to come in, and I want to bring this to you guys. It's awesome. So on March 30th, Mitzi, who is awesome, has allowed us, we're going to come in here. Mitzi's going to, feed everybody. March 30th, we're going to have a meeting. To our meeting, we're going to talk about things we could do inside Dickinson County.
All right, Ms. Al, thank you very much.
So have our meeting, guys.
Anybody else?
Hop's already over. No. Hi, Kathy.
Hello there. My name's Kathy Harrison, and I know that in closed session you're going to consult with legal counsel over the school project. That is something that I would really like for you to take a very, very close look at the proposal that has been sent to you. Compare it to the proposal that you sent, which I haven't seen, and compare it to what has been adhered to in the past. I know that it is your job to fund these things. It is the school board's job to educate. We can't, the two shouldn't really cross each other. But as an educator, I think you need to get the opinions of someone within a system. If you don't dig ditches for a living, and someone told you that you needed to dig a ditch from here to Hayside, you might try to find someone that actually does that for a living. So talk to someone who actually is in education and see what their opinion is about busing students, young students, so far to a school and then back home again, and what that might do to our SOL scores that we're doing so great on. They might drop. And once we get there and our SOL scores start dropping because our classrooms are overcrowded, there's not a lot we can do about it. So I just really ask for you to take your time, consider everything, take everything under consideration before, don't be in too big of a hurry to solve something that's been going on for 4 years. I mean, really. It's been going on longer than 4 years, but I'm just saying 4 years, just cause. And that's how long the school's been up there. Anyway, please take your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
My name is Jim Childress, and I'm here to talk about litter. Everywhere we go in this county, and litter, trash along our highways. And I know that Josh has mentioned this on Facebook before. In the past week, I've had opportunity to be out towards Pound, over towards Trammel. Litter everywhere. Pound River that we've just designated as a scenic river. I walked along it today. Trash everywhere. Now, what are we going to do about it? I don't know. People who throw out their litter, we can do nothing about them. As usual, it falls on good people and taxpayers to try to clean up this mess. Maybe the board can proclaim April Clean Up the County Month or something. Used to, we had a lot of civic clubs and groups that got out and picked up litter.
We're already ahead of you, Mr. Childress.
And we need to do all kinds of things. And another thing that really gets on my nerves is these orange bags that lay out there until they rot. I don't know who's supposed to pick them up. If someone's getting paid for that or whatever. But a lot of times I even see them ripped apart, the stuff scattered again, has to be picked up a second time. But we want to invite people to come in, spend their money, stay here, ride our trails, do all these things. They don't need to look at our trash thrown all along the highway. Thank you.
Thank you for getting mine last week.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. I guess I feel obligated to speak since Jim brought it up. Litter control falls under the sheriff. That is one thing we took a good, strong look at, Jim, over the past few weeks. We met with the probation office, probation parole. We had a meeting last week, and of course I just took office in January, 1st of January, so we hadn't had a lot of time. But I've implemented a countywide 1 day per month litter pickup. The first day is going to be March 20th. You'll start seeing it out on the internet. We're going to put it out maybe in the paper to let everybody know, and I guess this is the best way to do it. March 20th, look for a lot of people out on the roadways picking up trash. We've loaded up our schedule on day shift. We hope to have 100 plus people out on the roads 1 day per month, every month. So we're going to work on that, Jim, and hopefully you will see a difference. We're also working with the county shop, those guys that drive the trash trucks right here on the roads every day. We're going to try to organize it to where they can come out the same day and pick up that trash where it don't sit there. But we are working on that.
And we have our community work program. I facilitated along with Jeremy. We are well aware of this, and we are doing we're on top of it too.
I got a comment too. That sounds like a great idea, Sheriff Fleming, and I'm glad to hear that. I also been involved with Toby Edwards. We have some dump sites.
Yes.
And over the years, they've cleaned one out.
Yeah.
That I know of, because I helped participate in that. But it took a lot of years, didn't it, Toby?
I'm going to put a lot of pressure on these guys as well. My goal per day is 1,000 bags. I don't know if we can get it, but we're going to shoot for it. So.
Hey, and what I was going to suggest, Sheriff Fleming, is let's track statistics on it, or, not something sophisticated, but like how many bags, but also when litter control is going around and you find someone abusing it, let's track how many citations and what have,
Right.
That way we know, because the thing for doing that is, that way we know if they're fully employed or we need more people doing
it. And that's a good point. And I've been in law enforcement for 18, 19 years now. I saw one person as many miles as I put on in Dickinson County, I saw one person throw a bottle out the window.
It's
That's
hard
just
to catch
something
them.
you
You
do
have to
not
catch
get.
them in
And these
the
other law
act.
enforcement officers back here in the room.
But I also was gonna add this too, for all you folks out there. For this to get better, we need everyone's help. I've had people call in saying someone's abusing their trash can, and they know the person, but they won't say who it is. You know, and the person didn't live in our county.
And
You know,
another thing we're
those
looking
types
at.
of things, and Lester, I had to call Lester one time because I had to call him, tell him, look, on the side of the highway, there's a porta potty set up. Someone put their toilet out there.
The Abingdon Regional Jail, they have inmates that go into Russell County and Washington County and do a lot of this. And to me, that's a no-brainer. I just got appointed to the jail authority. Jeremy and David are on the jail authority. That's something I'm going to beg Hayside to implement as well. There's no reason why we couldn't have them out doing litter pickup. Why they're not now, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. So we can do a lot more, and we're going to do a lot more.
Sir, what about the Silent Highway program that's in Dickinson County? Are you continuing that?
Yes, I'm sorry?
The Silent Highway program.
As far as probation, or
The silent 2-mile section.
Adopt the highway.
We don't do that. No, we don't get away with that after they choose.
I participated in that years ago.
Yeah, we did. They have just signs of section of highway.
We took that 2 miles up
After they started designing
I got
highway.
something I want to say too now. There's a lady that picked up 8 bags from the 4-way to 83 Gadsden Road. I seen her picking it up. The same night, right after she picked it up, I Gil said, the bags look pretty beside the road for a day or two. After that, they need to go. But that doesn't make you think that somebody's actually picking up their bags and somebody's keeping count of it. But somebody came through there that very night, got all 8 bags open, poured them out, and threw the bag back down on top. That's the people I like to really get.
Somebody didn't like her.
But, litter control is, we're picking up the pace with, Sheriff Leonard's litter
Catch them in
control.
the act.
Miles Alter is helping out with litter control also, so I think he's on the right program, to get more chance to see the results.
We counted 21 bags from 4-way to below.
Might not be very light, but the garbage trucks go right by us. Why are they not?
Yeah, and that's something, like I said, we've just addressed with those guys, so hopefully that'll get better also. And today I talked with Marty Davis, the Corps of Engineers. We also have partnered with them on the lake cleanup, river cleanups, and like Lester just told you, we just now assigned an additional guy to that litter control. So you're going to see a difference. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
You did good today, because I went to Wise and they were picking trash up all along Crane's Nest. On the way back, the garbage truck was picking the bags up.
I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Well, our garbage trucks only run once a week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our trucks only run our way once a week.
But
they picked them
it's
up
open
today.
public comment, and you just go one at a time. So whoever, I think you might be, Ms. Mullins is ahead of you, Chad.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman and members, and Mr. Phillips, Mr. Moore, I wanted to just, real quickly, since talking about the school will be in closed session, I wanted to ask you all to think about the ramifications of working out an agreement with the school board. The school board is asking you, my understanding, one of the things they're asking is that you dissolve the facilities development agreement. And I would say that would set a precedent in Dickinson County. I agree that we need to make deals to work things out, and we want this litigation to go away, but you can't compromise principle just to make a deal, okay? And this facilities agreement was entered into by the Board of Supervisors, the school board, and the IDA. And I've given you, I think, Mr. Phillips and Mr. Scott Mullins and Mr. Freddie Mullins, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, drafted this agreement back in 2011. And this agreement has been what has guided the project. And so I have copied the first 3 pages, And I would like to read on page 2, I've got it highlighted, I'd like to read so the public will know what the agreement between the boards is on this project. It is the goal of the parties to construct educational facilities at locations that are reasonably centrally located to the children to be served by said facility. A location in the Rose Ridge section of Dickinson County has been selected for the consolidated high school, middle school, and career technical school. A new elementary school will be located in an area yet to be determined in the area of Sand Lick, Hayside, or Clinchco. The parties hereby acknowledge that contractual commitments have been made to third parties and funds have been paid to third parties based upon these locations. And the parties hereto irrevocably commit that these locations shall be the location upon which the above referenced educational facilities shall be constructed. Now we know that this language doesn't mean anything to the school board, but I'm hoping that you as a board will say our word and our contracts in Dickinson County are good. They're binding. We're going to keep our word. If you accept the school board's proposal, you are compromising the good faith of the people that have voted for you and elected you. And we don't make deals just to make deals. Our deals must be guided by principle, and that's it.
Hey, I do have a question now.
Sure.
Who did you say drafted the agreement?
And I have the IDA minutes when this agreement was
I believe
entered.
you.
Well, I'm just
I wanted to
saying,
clarify.
I'm using that as a reference. As attorneys, we have to give a side. My understanding is it was drafted by the 3 board attorneys, which at that time, I think was Mr. Phillips, Mr. Scott Mullins, and Mr. Freddie Mullins for the IDA.
But I wanted to clarify, it's been my understanding it was predominantly asked for and drafted by the school board attorney.
Yeah, and I will say this, that this contract has been basically substantially performed. The Ridgeview part has been performed. We can't say when we get to the part of a contract that we suddenly don't like, oh, we're going to back out of it. That's called unclean hands. The county has substantially performed this contract, and we need to honor our word. Communities and children are counting, all of us are counting on y'all to keep your word.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Yes, sir.
A.C. Rose, 1664 Wolfman Road, Clintwood, Virginia. Thank you for having this meeting. Glad to see the Honorable Mr. Phillips here. I had a question for Mr. Phillips. I didn't pay attention in 6 classes as much as I should. So hopefully you have the answer, because I was one of those 16-year-old dropouts and continued my working career. I work hard, and I still do, but I've been able to make a good life for myself. United States Constitution takes a convention of the states to change any article in the United States Constitution. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I can't.
Convention of the states.
I can't hear you. So
Okay.
if those in the audience would refrain from talking, I can't hear the gentleman. Okay, thank you.
A convention of the states is required to change the Bill of Rights in the United States of America, correct?
You're correct.
What is the guidelines for changing a section of the Bill of Rights for the Virginia Commonwealth? Do you know?
It has to be a constitutional convention.
Of the counties?
No, it has to be a constitutional convention of the state.
For a state?
For the
Bill
state of
Rights?
Virginia, yes.
Okay, so it's under the same guidelines as United States Constitution?
Pretty much,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, well, then that makes it a lot simpler then. I just have one thing to read and then I'll let go. Article 1, Bill of Rights. Section 13, description, militia, standing armies, military subordinate to civil power. That a well-regulated militia composed of the body of the people trained to arms is the proper, natural, and safe defense of a free state. Therefore, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That standing armies in time of peace should be avoided as dangerous to liberty, and that all, in cases of the military, should be under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. That's Article 1, Section 13 of the Bill of Rights of the Virginia Constitution. Anyone that wants to go against the Bill of Rights of the state constitution, it has been stated, please contact your representatives. Call a convention of the states. Change the Bill of Rights. Lawmakers in Virginia, if they want to make laws that infringe, and I would love to hear the definition of arms, because we hear assault weapon, we hear silencer, we hear suppressor, we hear sport rifle. I would love to hear the definition of the word arms. In the Revolutionary War, where would this country be if the American citizens, future American citizens, did not have the capability to stand up at equal, somewhat equal, arms to the people they were fighting? Politics is big right now. What's to stop President Trump? Martial law? I'm sure people would love to stop that if it ever happened. If he wins over the generals, what are you going to use to protect your state, your constitution, your country? It's just something to think about.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody else for public comment?
I'll try to get my thoughts together. Much went on here today that I may get all confused and can't get going. But I'd just like to address the school issue, that they have asked you to give them the right to make the decision where the school goes.
I want to clarify something, and David can Mr. Moore can back me up on this. The school board has not sent us anything. Nobody has sent us anything. We've read a Dickinson Star article just like everybody else in this room. We've received no correspondence from their lawyers, their superintendent, or anybody. So all this talk about you all got offers or whatever, we don't have any offers. In this packet is everything. We don't have nothing. So I would challenge you to go to the school board meeting and ask them to see whatever they've sent us, because they've not sent us anything. I feel compelled to clarify that.
I plan on attending that.
I know they had one meeting where they said
A resolution.
where they said that they wanted a joint meeting to try to work it out. Have you received anything from the school board?
No.
Not received nothing. So you don't correspond officially through the newspaper. You correspond.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad.
When you're paying with the taxpayers' dollars $250 an hour for lawyers, have them draft up a letter and a proposal and send it to us. Don't make us read it in the Star. So nobody sent us nothing.
The one thing I would add to that communication should happen. One thing I'd add to that communication with what's going on right now should be going through the lawyers.
They've not sent us, a newspaper article is not an offer. Okay, so they've not sent us nothing. We're not considering nothing tonight, because nothing's been sent to us.
Good, I'm glad. I can just, if you're not considering nothing tonight, then I don't even.
We don't have nothing to consider.
Okay. I'll go to the school board meeting. I'll be sure to be at the school board meeting tomorrow night. So, just to see. Pardon?
Sir, could you, point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Gentleman needs to sit
All right,
down.
Carol, I blocked you. I'm going to start your 3 minutes over, but I just want to, you're the second or third person that says we're considering. We don't have nothing to consider, okay?
That's why you don't talk
Well.
Go
I guess
ahead.
I'll just, if you don't have nothing to consider, and you're not gonna make any decision, then.
We don't.
You're not gonna make any decision as far as
I'm sorry,
giving them the right to make the decision. You're not gonna make that decision.
No,
Okay.
No, sir, you need to sit down. You
Steve,
need to be recognized and come up.
We get in the comment section.
Yes, okay.
Do you want your 3 minutes, Carol? Because I took it, but you're welcome to it. If not, we're going to try to move on.
Well, I'm all, I don't know where to go now.
Mr. Chairman.
If you're not gonna make any
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
My name is Bill Wallace.
Wait just a second, sir. There is an item on executive session tonight dealing with the school legal issues. There are nothing to discuss in that, so there will not be an executive session on that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips.
Okay. I was just told, I won't just say this, whispered into my ear by Miss Robinson, it was sent to you. She's right back there. She can answer that question if she wants to. There's 300.
I don't have nothing. We don't.
But she just told me that.
And again, it could have been corresponded between the attorneys.
Okay. She should have made that, okay? She said it was sent
Yes,
to
sir.
you.
Thank you,
all.
Mr. Mullins.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Come on, please come to the podium and state your name, and please just know that we're trying to grudge through this long agenda, and you got 3 minutes.
I understand that, sir. My name is Kerry Taylor. I'm from Culberston. I just moved here from Toledo, Ohio, in last November. Up in Ohio, the militia, when they mention it, all they think about is a bunch of hillbillies shooting their guns up in the air getting drunk. Since I've been down here, I've met so many nice people. I mean, the area is so great. I have talked with militia people, and they want to help. I can't speak for them, but like, say, you know, they get taught first aid and everything. You know, we don't just go out and, you know, shoot guns all the time. First aid, I think maybe if somebody's lost in the woods, might get a hold of the local commander. You know, the people that want to come and help might come and help look for them. But we're not just here to play Army. And I served 8 years in the Navy, honorably discharged. I give you the floor.
Thank you very much for your service. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Sorry, I ain't dressed for the occasion.
Oh,
I just go out for a
you are dressed for the occasion. You're a taxpayer.
I'm just no done surface coal mining.
Well, you're dressed for the occasion.
I like to address a couple of things I've heard here.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being here.
I heard about the red flag law. I understand there's people that's got mental disabilities and they know they do not need no gun. But you also can read about the red flag law. If I go and call the cops, say Josh is mentally unstable, he's threatening to kill himself just because I have something against Josh, they come to him and take his guns. There has been occasions when the cops showed up in the middle of the night to take people's guns, and there was a shootout because they didn't know who was in their home. All right? And assault weapons, there's no such thing. This is a bottle of tea. If I throw this at Josh, it comes an assault bottle of tea. That makes sense.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Is this guy good?
Jason McConnell. On the subject of Melissa Resolution, we're not asking y'all to grant us any rights. We're asking y'all to help protect a right we already have.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else for public comment? Last call. All right, this time I'm going to move on from item number 12 and move to number 13.
Wait a minute, you need to close public comment.
Okay, yes, sir, I apologize.
Close public comment.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and second to close public comment. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Moving on to item 13, Mr. Moore, do you care to enlighten us on item 13?
Yes, we've been asked as part of our association with the senior citizens that the month of March 2020 will be proclaimed March for Meals Month. They've asked us to consider and pass this. It's basically a proclamation. They also are planning a march. They've done marches in the past years in Tazewell County, and they may have done one in Lebanon. I can't remember. This year's march will actually be in Clintwood, and it'll be on March 24th. Be sometime in the late morning, and this is just one of those they've asked us, and we should proclaim this, and then we're going to help them, assist them in getting their march set up, just a recognition of the March for Meals for our elderly citizens.
Is there any discussion on the proclamation? Has everybody reviewed it? Does anybody have any questions?
No, I make a motion that we go ahead and pass this resolution.
Here, a second.
I'll second.
Motion and second to pass the proclamation as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well. And we move on to item 14, the Second Amendment Militia Resolution. This was beat to death at our last meeting, and we've heard some incredible speakers who I appreciate coming out very much tonight. This is something that I felt that was warranted and was asked by many residents, not only in my district, but all over the county that we present. And I would ask the board to adopt it as presented.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yes, sir.
Under Robert's Rules of Order, a chairman may not
make
ask
motion.
the chair to make a
I
motion.
understand, and that's why I open the floor up for motions.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Is it okay to ask?
So let's discuss it.
Just go.
Have you reviewed it?
I have.
What's your legal take on it?
If I might, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir,
answer
please.
this question. In order to understand the way that the state of Virginia is set up, you have to understand what the state constitution is and how it came about. You also have to understand how the state of Virginia and the Constitution created counties. Counties were created to carry out what roles and responsibilities by law that the state of Virginia and the Constitution wants a county to do. That's basically something that a lot of folks probably haven't had an opportunity to review or understand how that works. The Constitution of Virginia is a document that governs Virginia. It tells our state legislators, our Supreme Court, for example, in the United States, how they are to operate. And in addition, it also it defines what a county is, a constitution does, and from that constitution comes state laws. And as a result of that, the state of Virginia creates counties. The counties are not created in and of them by themselves. They're not independent. They are a creature of the state, the county is. The state of Dickinson can only implement and carry out what powers and what responsibilities is given to it by the state of Virginia. There is something called the Dillon Rule, and it's just something that's probably obscure to a lot of people that may not have ever heard of it. But there is a Dillon Rule that says in Virginia, and it's been upheld by the courts of Virginia, that a county cannot exceed the authority and powers that's granted to it by statute or by the Constitution. Okay, that's the basic law that's in effect in Virginia. So the Dillon Rule governs what this county can adopt, how it can adopt it, and when it can adopt it, any laws or ordinances that exist. So the county is a creature of the state. The state is the Commonwealth of Virginia. Commonwealth of Virginia means the Constitution and the state of Virginia determines what the county can do and cannot do. Now, it's different in some localities throughout the United States. They don't have commonwealths, and they operate a little more independently than our counties do in the state of Virginia. So as a creature of the state, the county cannot enter into, nor can they adopt, any ordinance that's contrary to the laws and the Constitution of the United States, or the Constitution of Virginia. The document that has been drafted and submitted, I've reviewed it and read it several times, and also have done a little research as well on that issue. And the way that that document is currently drafted is in violation of the Dillon rule. So if it's in violation of the Dillon rule, it would be illegal for the county to adopt it, Mr. Chairman. That's my legal opinion.
Yes, sir. Okay. Do I hear a motion on the militia resolution? Hearing none, I guess we'll move on. It will not be adopted. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I was gonna make a comment. This in no means means that I'm all for gun rights, and I like what you're doing. But you guys, this is something you need to take on yourself, be a private organization. We cannot, and that reinforced what I had already felt. I spent 30 years in the military, and to me, the militia was the National Guard. And that's what, and that's why it kind of turned, because this could open us up to litigation issues. You got to deal with, if you're really truly a militia, you need to have like weapons and like ammunition. I can't help but remember in Ramstein when we had a air show disaster, and here we're NATO, involved in this NATO agreement, and they ran out of the IV solution, like the Americans ran out of that, and the Germans ran out of the needles. And the two couldn't share between them because they hadn't had the foresight to get their stuff together so that they were using the same kind of stuff that would mate up with one another. So all those things are things for you to think about, and I don't have a problem with you guys going forward and prosper, but I'm just not sure as a government entity we should be a part of that.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, one
Yes, sir.
last note. Mr. Chairman, Dixon County is formed in 1880, if I recall correctly.
1880.
And a lot of us have been in this county many, many years. And a lot of our folks have fought and died in a lot of wars. We have a lot of folks who have died to sacrifice their lives in several wars to help protect us. And we're a very proud community. We're very, 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 I think we are. We're a very proud community. And we're proud of our country. We're proud to be an American. I am. And I think everybody in this room probably is. And proud to be a Dixon County. And one of the things that's sacred to those of us in this room is the right to bear arms. Because we're basically rural, we're a country, we come from a society that, believe it or not, some people agree or disagree, that are connected in some way with serving the country and with guns as a part of that. By no means does the opinion of this attorney or in any way restricts the right of the citizens to form their own militia. The county cannot do that. What it does is the citizens of the county has a right privately to do what they see. There was a gentleman, I don't know what that gentleman, he may have sat down, whatever. Basically, his position is correct. The militia doesn't need the approval of this board to form a militia. They don't need the approval. The county can't give the approval, nor do they need the approval. It's something that the private citizens of the county and the groups have to decide on their own how they wish to proceed. We just can't be legally a part of it. We can't fund it. We can't provide funding to do it because that's public funds. That would be public funds for a private purpose. And as a result, we can't encourage part of that or pass a resolution which would in any way legally indicate that we're sanctioning a militia. That's prohibited by the Constitution and state law. So I understand what a lot of folks, and I think a lot of people on this board understand where a lot of the people on gun rights are coming from. There are people pro, and folks are against. And it's always good to let your people in Richmond know, your delegates and senators, how you feel about this matter, because they're the ones that are closest to this issue, not the board. There will be those in Richmond, Virginia.
Is there any kind of motion on that? If not, we will move to item B, the emergency declaration, 14B.
Yes.
Ron, do you want to speak on David?
I don't care to go ahead. Back on February 6th, in the height of the bad weather, Ron Peters, who is the Emergency Management Director, Richie Thacker, who is the Emergency Management Coordinator, and I made a decision to declare a local emergency. Basically what that does is it opens up the ability that if the events of that day get bad enough, it opens us up for the ability to accept state and local funding. Basically, what's in front of you tonight is a resolution that is required. As part of that process, the board has to, at its next meeting, agree with that. And I'll need two motions. First motion I need is to adopt the resolution which backs that February 6th stance. And in the aftermath, we have been meeting with VDM and other agencies. There is not enough damage to help us meet the thresholds of their requirements, so we just need to go ahead. Your first motion will be to adopt the resolution. Your second motion will need to be to go ahead and close the local emergency.
Should I be doing that? Because
you can, and you probably should.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
And do you have anything you want to say about
Well, I do have something I want to say. See the man with the glasses on his forehead? That's Richie Thacker, and he went around, I went with him too on some of them. There was damage, and we went and looked at them. And I want to thank you, Richie, for the job you're doing.
Yes, sir. Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Come to the podium, Rich.
I think we need to know why the funding is not there.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Through the laws of FEMA, we're required to meet the threshold of $3.84 per person for the state of Virginia, which puts us at a little over $12 million that we would have to have in damage throughout the state. Okay, we only had damage in Southwest Virginia in very few counties, and it did accumulate up to almost $6 million, but we're about $7 million short. So we're not going to get individual assistance. I was told today, I've been in Marion since 4:30 this morning meeting with the state. I fought tooth and nail to try to get assistance for the citizens, but we're not going to get it for individual assistance. Some counties are going to get public assistance, which would be like for this building if it was flooded. Some counties had damage to their libraries and their courthouses and those types of buildings, and that's going to come from the governor. That's not going to come from FEMA. It's the governor's fund. And he's going to open that up for public assistance for those counties that met the threshold for public assistance, which is $4 per person with the population of your county. We didn't have any public damage in our county. Only private is all we had. And they told me today, they said, quit bouncing your head against the wall. You're not going to get anything. So, I mean, I've tried every avenue I know of. In April, I've got a meeting with one of the governor's aides. I'm going to try to set up something for the future to try to assist the citizens of Dixon County in a different way for private stuff. But I think the Virginia Department of Emergency Management likes the idea, and it's never been approached from the way I'm going to approach it before. It may work and it may not, but I mean, a $1,500 culvert to somebody that don't have $1,500 is the same as $15,000. You know, so we've got to do something. But anyway, that's the reason that we're not going to get the funding in a nutshell.
Well, thank you, Richie. So I made a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion and second to adopt the resolution. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye also.
You need to close the local emergency.
I'll make a motion, we close the local emergency.
I'll second it.
Motion and second to close the local emergency. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Now we have item 15, funding for local emergencies. Hopefully we might be able to do something with that. I don't see Ms. Mullins. Shelby, you might can educate us a little bit on that. Do you care?
I don't care a bit. Our hands are basically tied as to what we can do legally. Ms. Mullins, which is Susan Mullins through Social Services, has a fund set up for senior citizens. Her group makes a lot of money themselves to go into that fund. She is allowed to put some gravels on roads that we are not allowed to put any gravel on. If there is a disabled person, a senior citizen, or children trying to get in and out to a bus. We have been funding her ourselves through our budget, $10,000 a year to go into that fund, which she has used it tremendously in my district. I'm sure she has Ron, because Ron and I have a tremendous amount of damage in our district. I have one road that's over $4,000 to repair. She doesn't have the funds to do that. I'm putting some money over to help buy some gravel. And anyway, she can do some things that we cannot do. So tonight, she needs some additional funding to help people like you.
Yeah, and just to give you an example, there's at least those folks that got up and talked about their road problems. I probably got at least 10 of them, and that's 3 of them that were here.
We all do,
yeah. Yeah, it's we're trying.
So what can she do that we can't exactly?
She can go in and put gravel, repair a road. She can hire a contractor to help do some of this damage that we cannot do. We don't have a contractor to do it.
So
But
is
she
that-
can do it, but she does it through that senior citizens fund.
Yeah.
So is there,
Am
so
I
it-
correct, Mr. Moore?
Yes. And
Go ahead.
Well,
Let Mr. Moore help me out.
in order to be able to help out any private landowners, the county does not have that ability, but through our DSS program, DSS has a program for it's called an emergency services program. They have certain criteria that the resident has to meet. They do their own vetting process. They also do their own procurement process, but we have become actively involved in trying to help fund those projects.
is it income based? Is that one of the?
No, it's
Who makes the-
disability. Susan makes the call.
I've talked to her.
No, I'm for trying to
She
do it.
helped, I talked to her about some, individual that didn't meet our qualifications because they only had, 2 people that lived on the road. So I called Susan, and she can get a contractor, like a local contractor, to go out and help with their road if it's steep or something, and add gravel to it. And she was very amenable to these people that I asked help for over in Foxtown. So that is, but she only gets so much money too, you know. That don't go a long time
How
when
much
you're talking
additional
about
money do you think we like?
contractors.
I think we need to do an additional 10. That
Well,
we've got enough damage. She has
No, I agree, yeah.
less than 5,000 left in the fund. If she does the project that I've requested on Keith Hall, it's over 4,000, which we're negotiating a cheaper price to
I
get
wish
that
she
work
was
done.
here, because when I talked to Faye today, she said 50,000. And I don't know if we
No,
have it.
she's got 5,000 left in the fund.
I talked to Faye, but she didn't say a dollar amount.
I went and talked to her
I
because
would
we
say-
spent time going through the process.
Senior citizens.
Coordinator.
We typically have done that in $10,000 increments.
We have.
But in the face of some of what we've got, and I've seen the list is impressively bad. The need-
I can share one of the.
I would
bad
think
ones.
at this point in time, if I could get you to agree to 15 to 20,000 at this point, I think it would kind of keep them from having to come back again, because we are going into the spring months where we really get inundated with.
Yeah.
And that's the only way we're
Would
gonna
we
be able to
have
help some of
enough
these
in
people.
our budget to do 20? We could take it out of our contingency.
We'll make it work.
Please.
We're trying to help as many people as possible, and in order to keep from having to come back 10,000 at a time, I've seen the list. The list is long, it's extensive. There's no way, I don't think we'll get to all of it, but I think 20,000.
Well, and I'll say this, I really, it was really a stretch to fix this one area. Last year in my district, the road fell in, and now went back there after this. It's the same thing. It just started where the work left off and continued up the mountain.
And this all goes wrapped around, we need to address some things with VDOT too, to figure out what we're gonna do to maintain these, cause all we're really doing is throwing Band-Aids on this stuff. You just wait for it to happen again at the next rainstorm.
I agree, it's washed out there in Dyer's Chapel
Yeah.
before. They
Yeah.
need to put rebar under there and hold it in place and
Yeah.
then fill it.
I've been up at
They
Dyer's
just-
Chapel
They
too.
just fill it, you know? They should put
Oh,
rebar
I
in
would
there.
like to make a motion that we do 20,000 to
I'll
social
second it.
services to help senior citizens
Got a
program.
motion to appropriate $20,000 to the Department of Social Services for, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ron.
Well, I want the folks to understand that this may become a part where, a point in our time where we're gonna have to ask for some kind of share coming back too, because I don't know if we're gonna be able to continue
I
this.
don't think so.
But I know there's dire need, and it's not that we don't wanna help people, it's, what do we have money for?
Well, I'm
That's
hoping we can do some stuff with
VDOT
this,
would be
with
great.
VDOT and this advisory committee. I really hope to be more proactive with that, but.
I would like to get to where we're doing more permanent fixes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't see any other way we can help the people that need help right now. I mean, we're all inundated
Yeah,
with
yeah,
this.
we gotta do this right now.
So I have a motion and second to appropriate $20,000 for emergency funding for roads and senior assistance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. We'll move, go ahead,
Yeah, who seconded? I made the motion. Who seconded?
Ron.
Yeah, yeah,
Teresa asked. Thank you.
yeah, no, that's good.
Appointments, item A, there's an email, I believe, from an Amanda Ball from People Inc. There's a vacancy on their board. I know Ms. Kaiser's already been active in that board, to my understanding, but
I make a motion to appoint Peggy
second it.
Kaiser to the board.
have a motion and second to appoint Ms. Kaiser to the People Inc. board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. We'll move on to item B, the Cumberland Plateau Regional Waste Management Board.
I would like to make a motion that we put Mr. Ron Peters back on there. I talked to Damon. Damon said that he had got some things done they hadn't been able to do. The chairman is no longer there. That was a lot of hindrance to that board. So I make a motion we put Mr. Peters back on that board.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Well, I'm going to speak up a little bit because I was interested in being on that board because my degree is in environmental health. I took up a crisis in solid waste, so I think it's only appropriate. Last time you guys didn't want me to nothing. And it hurt my feelings. So I think it would be appropriate this time that you appoint me to this board. I have nothing against Ron, and I commend him for the job he's done, but I think it would be appropriate that you appoint me. And so,
Well,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
yes, sir. We're gonna
You have a
vote.
motion
I
on the floor.
understand. Yes, sir. I was getting to it. Thank you, Mr. Phillips. So we have a motion and second. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on this particular vote. Ms. Willis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Sluss?
no.
Ms. Kaiser?
I have talked with Rhonda and have told her that I would do my very best to support her with this. Ron has come in with all kinds of paperwork to back up all his work that he's doing. And I am twixt in between of who to vote for or how to vote. So I guess reluctantly I will probably say yes and vote for Ron, but that's not my first choice.
Well, why not? Why don't you vote? Why don't you vote for no? You may have.
So what do you do?
I vote no.
Voted yes.
So
What is, Mr. Chairman, what was the vote?
it was yes, Ms. Willis, no, Ms. Sluss, yes, Ms. Kaiser, yes, Mr. Peters, and no, Mr. Evans.
So did the motion carry?
Motion carries.
I guess I lose out again.
Well, that's,
Then I want you to consider.
Oh, yeah, I will.
Sorry.
Moving on to, no, sorry. Moving on to item 17, agreements, the transfer station manpower agreement. I believe Mr. Edwards is here to speak on that.
You probably got this in your back.
Yeah.
Hello, how are you?
What's going on, bud?
It's another day in the trash and paradise.
I'm going to try to be real brief. My name is Toby Edwards, and I'm the Executive Director of the Cumberland Plateau Waste Authority. I just want to give you a little history. I am a tech graduate, and listen to Bud. It's been a while since I've seen you, Bud, and it's good to see you again. But listening to you give us some history on Virginia and how our counties are created and how they're controlled, I guess, by the state legislation. It reminds me of a professor I had, James I. Robertson. He was a history professor at Virginia Tech and one of the greatest men that I've ever had in my classes.
Knew him and met him.
Wonderful man. Loved to listen to him talk. And you've got that same way of grasping people's attention, and you should be a teacher.
I was one time.
I might be interested in taking your class.
I heard that.
One of the best experiences of my life was teaching at Clintwood High School. I can tell you that. I had a lot of great kids at Clintwood High School.
But with that in mind, talking about history, the Waste Authority was created in 1992, and I'm going to take us all back in time a little bit. Back in 91, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, was bringing down some new laws. And Bud, I think you were around during this time, or maybe around this time. But Dixon County owned the landfill located out here at Honeycamp. And that landfill was filling up. And Dickinson County had an issue. What do we do when that fills up? DEQ even stepped in and said, if you don't shut that landfill down when it fills up, we're going to fine you $20,000 or $25,000 a day. So we had a crisis there for Dickinson County. Buchanan and Russell counties all had a similar issue. All their landfills were closing up or filling up. And another thing that was coming down was new regulations about closing the landfills. If they got out before 1992, they only had to do 10 years of post-closure care. It means making sure the grass is cut, making sure it doesn't, have any bad water coming out of it, and the cap is all right. Well, if they went past that date, they had to monitor that thing for 30 years. So everybody looked at the Cumberland Plateau Planning District at that time. Andrew Chapin was the executive chair or executive director. And he went to the counties and said, how about we form a waste authority? And we put 3 transfer stations in, and we take our trash down to Tennessee, close our landfills, and we're done. Problem solved. And that's been 27 years ago today. But Dickinson County was the first station built of the 3. Your all's is the oldest facility. We got a bond for $3.2 million to build the 3 structures, one Buchanan, one Dixon, one Russell. We paid that debt off in 2008. In 2009, we've got another bond of $1.3 million. That was to do some upgrades. Believe it or not, trash is hard on equipment, hard on concrete, it's hard on a lot of things. It may not appear, but it is very rough on equipment. Well, that second bond we paid off in 2015. In 2012, we knew we were saving the member county's money, but we didn't know how much. So we did a study. We hired an engineering firm to look at what if Dixon County, Buchanan County, and Russell County had stayed in the landfill business. To give you an idea, if Dixon County would have stayed in the landfill business, you all would have spent $30,330,000 from 1993 to 2012. By having the landfill, or by having a transfer station, it saved the county, Dickinson County alone, $18.2 million by being out of the landfill business. Combined, our three counties, we saved, by getting out of the landfill business, that's what I call it, business, $47.84 million is what we saved our member counties by getting out of the landfill business. And you can ask, how do you do that? Operating a landfill is very expensive. Liners are very expensive. The average cost for a 2-acre sale is around $2.5 million to $3 million. Go ask their neighbors in Tazewell County that didn't get out of the landfill business. They're having a huge budget shortfall because they chose to stay in the landfill business. We got out. Some other things I wanted to highlight tonight is this year, this previous year, we did some more upgrades to our transfer stations. We put new floors, concrete floors, on all three facilities, and we didn't ask a dime from the counties. We didn't have to. We didn't have to have a bond, and so we got it paid for this year. I'm cutting nickels to make dimes, but we're going to make it. In 2018, it was kind of a year that the Waste Authority grew up, per se. For the last 25 years, the Waste Authority had been affiliated with the Cumberland Plateau Planning District. They served as administrative agent for the Waste Authority. We broke away from the planning district, and by breaking away, we saved $50,000 just by doing that. That savings will be passed on to the localities. Another thing we did in 2016, we renegotiated their contracts. See, the Waste Authority has the contracts for a waste haul and a disposal. When the county collects and brings to the transfer station, it becomes the authority's property, and we're to see it's properly managed. Again, your liability's gone. That's another thing. When it was in the landfill, you own that landfill out there at Honeycamp forever. But when it goes to the Waste Authority and it goes to the Bluntville landfill, your liability is gone. Some other notable things, we've updated our bylaws. We're in the process of getting our articles of incorporation. I should be getting a letter any day, Ron.
But we haven't heard anything back yet.
I talked to her, and everything's fine. She said, we're just slow.
Okay.
At the
And
State
that was
Corporation
a major endeavor.
It has been. And the next big endeavor that you all will be looking at, and that's, I sent Lee Moise, the county attorney in Buchanan, he'll be getting in touch with you, bud, is our user agreement with all three counties. All three have been working together, bud, and the previous county attorney had been working with Lee and Katie in Russell County to draft or update those. They haven't been updated in a while, so they need to be updated. Lee Moise will be giving you a call. That's our next big thing. Currently, and this has been this is the last thing I got. We have updated the software program at our transfer stations, all three. It is the latest and greatest. It's been had some bugs, but we're working through it. The guys at all three stations, and I want to personally take tonight to thank our transfer station operators. Kevin Kaiser, our station manager, Scott Jones, and now Michael. I couldn't make it without them. They're my right arm. And I just want to say I appreciate their hard work, their dedication, and sometimes I tell them they need to go home, but they don't want to leave. But they're good guys, and I just want you to know you've got good employees down there, and I appreciate that. Other than that, the main topic here is the manpower agreement. The manpower agreement, simply put, is a handshake between the Waste Authority and the county. In the beginning, the Waste Authority hired employees, and both parties, the county and the Waste Authority, saw that was just expensive for us to have employees. When you all have a larger pool of employees, a larger pool for your insurance, and so on. And so the county's elected to have their own employees working at the station. And that basically is what the manpower agreement is we'll provide everything, the Waste Authority, and the county will provide labor. And Bud, you've looked at this thing many, many times over the years. It's the same language. So that's all I really had, unless y'all have some questions.
I have a question concerning recycling.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, what do we do? I mean, we're required to do so much recycling, so much percentage, correct?
We are. The state mandates that we recycle at least for localities with the population of Dickinson County, a 15% at least.
But we're not recycling right now, is that correct?
Well, we have the facilities set up down at Hayside, which needs to be cleaned up. It's you're getting people from Van Cent using that one at Hayside.
You mean Sandlin?
Yeah, Sandlin,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. No,
But my mother called me, and I talked to Lester about this. It needs to be cleaned up real bad.
Mr. Chairman,
but we are doing some
Are we
small
not
work.
recycling at all, or are we recycling our 15%?
We are. We are.
Or we're not at our house because we can't find no place to put it.
Well,
There's no place, there's
the
somewhere.
one here in Clintwood, you can't bring it to?
The last time the party is closed.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Phillips. Let's let Mr. Phillips speak.
Can I attempt to answer
Yes,
Ms.
go ahead.
Willis' question? There has been major problems across the United States over the last 6 months.
Yeah, I know that.
Most of the major recycling facilities are closing or going bankrupt.
That's right.
And the costs are so expensive to operate that they can't make a profit, and they can't take the recycling materials that's been generated. So I'm very aware of the state mandate, but if you can't sell it, you can't get rid of it,
exactly right.
It's hard to recycle, and that's a sad thing about it. And I wish that there was a better way to do recycling, but right now, if things don't change, there probably won't be any major recyclers use their materials in the United States in the next 6 months or a year.
I think there are better ways, and we're looking at that. We've been going out and looking at what some other places are doing. We went up to Pigeon Forge, and we looked at a recycling center, and it processes 450 tons of trash per day. And it turns it into like a mulch down sludge that they dry out. It's not considered, I think, biohazard safe for compost. But it's not a hazard, but it's not considered true compost when it's done, but it really reduces it down.
And it saves them, Sevier County and Gatlinburg and that area, a lot of money because of landfill space.
Yeah.
They're not paying for it to be in landfill.
I mean, they told us they only open their landfill 2 weeks out of the year when they have to shut down operations for some maintenance. But it's a major investment that we have to do studies and then.
There used to be one at
Lester was going to speak on that one, I think.
We're not here clearly to, Toby's working on getting some more, Gaylord boxes for it. And Eugene talked to him about it, and I know Toby brought some over. But the trailers were in bad shape, and some of them get full, but we have used the boxes that Toby's brought over. As I said before, we can get the recycling trailers back open, but Jeremy over in Russell County has a hard time getting rid of the product. If we bring it to him, he'll unload it, but he holds on to it for a long time before he can sell it.
I foresee Tri-County Recycling not being able to take it in the current condition, unless trade wars, and that's the biggest problem. About 90% of our materials that we recycle in this country goes to China. That's just the truth. We don't reuse or recycle here in America. That's metal, that's plastics, that's cardboard, everything goes to China. Well, when the trade war started, the recycling market is in the tank. And at the current rate, if it's not decided, I see recycling, I see Jeremy. He's our only source over in Russell County. If he goes out of business or stops accepting it, we have no place to take it.
It was on 60 Minutes this last week where they were putting plastics back in landfill.
You know, I've always been a proponent of recycling, always will be, but I'm also realistic and understand budgets. It's cheaper to put it in landfill than it is to recycle it.
That's crazy.
It's, and that's a fact I can't argue. You know, my heart's with recycling, but it's cheaper for us to put it in the truck, take it to the landfill.
I have a couple questions. First, Mr. Phelps, there is some word changes from the last one. Are we okay with this? Have you had a chance to review?
I've read the agreement, and I'm familiar with the past agreements, and it appears to me, based on everything I've seen, it's...
Okay, then I got a question because it references a job description. I would like to see those in the county too as part of this, so we're reviewing it. I think you would be the one we'd want to determine the job description.
I think the language in there is, they report
says it's
to
maintained
David
at
and
the
me.
Waste Authority, but I would like to see it with the document. Not saying we gotta hold off, but I would like to see it so when we're reviewing it.
What paragraphs are you looking at there?
It's on page 3. Job description will be determined by the authority and the county administrator. I'm good with that. A copy is on file at the authority office.
You're just saying a copy here.
Yeah, that's all I'm
I can
saying,
shoot
so
it
that
in
we maybe attach it to the document.
We can do that.
It doesn't have to be a formal part. And then the only other thing is the term. I'm good with it. I can live with it, but I kind of like the idea that we formally ask and the county can just glance at it and say, keep it up, instead of automatic renewal. That's my take. But that, I can go either way. It's only a 2 years, it's only a 2-year contract, I think.
He did not get reappointed.
Why didn't it automatically renew?
No, he did not. His term ends the end of the week.
His name is on here.
Yes. He is still currently a board member.
This part.
Yeah,
He is a
there's a
board
part that
member.
says it automatically renews, and I would rather.
Until the last day of
there's
this
a
month.
formal, they ask and we.
Ron's term went up till the last day of this month.
Have that piece in mind.
Oh, I don't
Let's
know.
go with sir.
Item 17A.
Okay, yeah, all right.
17A.
When do y'all meet?
We have a meeting Thursday
Yep, we do.
Okay. So Trey would still be there
till Friday.
one more meeting, okay. So that way.
I'm willing to hear
Thank
it.
Have the other localities adopted this? Have the
I
other
think they
localities
have.
adopted this?
It's on their agendas.
Okay.
The Russell County will be meeting Monday along with Procurement.
I think it's appropriate myself. I would
I can
open
live
it
with
for
2
a
years
month.
like it
Okay.
is. It's not a long one.
We do other things where technically it's a 1-year contract and we have to notify
I know
within 3
that.
months.
I can live with this because it gets visited by the board, at least during their time.
Let's give it a whirl.
We've got a motion to adopt it.
I'll
Adopt
second
the-
it.
I'll second it.
Who made, did you make the motion to adopt? I'm sorry, okay. Got a motion and a second to adopt the contract presented by Mr. Evans, Cumberland Plateau Waste Management Authority. All those in favor of adopting the contract, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well.
We're good.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
We'll go
you,
get my
Toby.
baby.
Good to see
Hey,
you.
can you send me a copy of the job description?
I can. I'll send it
Appreciate it.
today and get the card copy.
And that's all. Yep.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving to B, 17B.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Yes, sir.
B, C, D, and E are basically the same types of contracts for mowing services, spillway, impound, and crane's nest. You may speed this up by if it's so desire of the chairman and the board to adopt B, C, and D and E. I've reviewed all the agreements, and they appear to be in order and can be approved as it's your will, and you may want to adopt all of those.
I've got a couple questions.
I've got a question also.
You go ahead, Ms. Willis, I defer, and then I'll go ahead.
Mr. Moore, did we have in last year's contract that we would renew this one, or did we say that it'd go out for bid?
The mowing contract, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
The mowing contract was first established in 17. It had the ability, and that was done with Mr. Surgeon's lawn care. We had the ability to do 4 consecutive one-year rollovers at the county's option.
All right, thank you.
This will actually be our third,
This is our third.
year option.
So I'm wondering, why are we not just going ahead and bidding this out, though? I mean, it's an option, it's not an obligation.
Well, to be honest, the year that we bid it out, this was
the cheapest,
half the price of the second and third that came in. We have figured as long as we don't have major problems, it is to our benefit to.
The only reason I ask, and it's, I don't have any sort of dog in any of it, but as I've been hearing a lot of complaints, and you know, people's going to complain.
We've addressed those.
So those going forward, can I bring those to you then, and then maybe relay it to Mr. Sergeant?
Every year. Last year, the majority of the problems were weather related. He did have some staffing problems. We have spoken to him about that.
The softball field here in Clintwood, and you know, a lot of our Little League organizations use that. There's a lot of.
Well, the weather really created a lot of problems for us last year. There were issues.
I meant to bring that. Thank you.
Well,
but I mean, I'm not against it. I understand it, but I preferred we would bid it out every year. But I mean, I'm not like standing with my head on fire for that. But I just, to me, I just like to have maybe somebody else might have a shot. You know, I don't. But that's just me. I agree with you. It's cheap.
I made a motion.
You got the motion. I second the motion that we do all A, B, C, D, E.
And my theory goes for the same on all of them.
And if your philosophy, if this board's philosophy is to do it that way, then in January, it's much easier if we just start the RFP process all over again, but you have to start very early.
That's what I want to do going forward, and that's the only reason I'm going to vote no, because I would prefer to give anybody a shot. But anyway, so have a motion.
We done that.
Ms. Willis, you've got a motion to approve all the contracts?
Well, no, they said we need to do one at a time.
Oh, you want to do it?
Oh, Mr. Phillips said we could do them collectively, didn't he?
You can do.
Yeah, and I thought I made a motion to do them all collectively.
All right,
there are 2 other details that need to change. On C, that will the contract, the spillway contract will remain the same. That will stay with Chris Wood. But D, which is the Powder River Bearpin contract, that had been with Jack O'Quinn. That now will be with Bo Dotson. Mr. O'Quinn is.
So who does? I mean, I'm not trying to be. The last thing I want to do is start something. But who made that? I mean, who did that get?
Well, we normally do. We normally have tried to give these contracts to county employees who so desire to supplement their income by taking care of these rec areas. It's an after-hours exercise for them. And
well, that's again,
they know they're out there. They come and express interest on it. We try our best to give them to one of our employees if they so want it.
And they've done a great job.
And the process has worked. In the absence of having what I would call a Parks and Rec director who would be in charge of all properties and that just be the sole person handling it, this seems to have been the best way to take care of these.
Well, again, I'm just voting. I would really prefer us to bid these out and open it up and be a little more transparent with it. But I don't want to argue about it tonight.
I just have one.
Because like you said, I agree with you. January. Well, to now, I guess going forward, maybe in the next year would be the better way to do it.
Mr. Phillips, are we okay if there's a name change on this, or do we have to?
You could come under small purchase. Yeah,
okay,
services.
we're fine.
It would.
Okay. Well,
and to complete.
and I don't, Shelby, if you want to do them individually, I'll make.
David's still saying something.
Well, to complete this 17E, which is the Cranes Nest Trail, that was last year with Adrian Sargent. We did not have any county employees that were interested in it, but this year Bo Dotson is also interested in taking that responsibility as well. So,
Do you all understand what I'm saying about that, though? I mean, I don't have any problem with any of these people or
Some
anything.
people might
but-
want to bid it out.
Exactly,
I mean,
and
there's other people that might
I'd
want
prefer
a
us
chance
just
to-
not to-
I got a nephew that does a lot of good mowing.
Not to just do this, and, I mean, I don't know, but that's just my opinion.
Who takes care of the, I had a man, talk to me about, he took care of the bathhouse down at Crane's Nest. He said people were going the road and use that commode and everything, and it was just a mess, so.
has been.
Mr., what was his name?
Jack Oakley ran that one.
They used to be with Oakwind. It was with Surratt last year.
Okay.
So Oakland didn't do it last year?
No, he did not.
Is that Jack, is that Barbara? Is this Barbara?
They live here in town?
They do, Barbara's good.
They do Pound River, yeah.
She does DSS too, I think.
They were talking about how it was such a mess because people just used it for stopping off places in the bathroom.
Okay, so we're gonna do them individually, correct? Mr. Phillips, is that what you're saying?
You can do it either way, individually or collectively.
All right, I'll open the floor for motions. Whoever wants to make a motion on these agreements, either collectively or individually.
Shelby, I'll let you make
I'll make a motion that we approve A, B, C, D, and E in one motion.
Do I hear a
And
second?
I'll second.
I'm gonna request a roll call vote, please. So, Ms. Willis, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Ms. Sluss?
I'm about both, but I think I'm like Josh, I think it should be put out to bid.
So you vote yes?
Yes.
Ms. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
I vote no, for the reasons stated previously. So the motion will pass 4-1. We'll go to item 18, the Bear Pen swimming pool. Do I hear, I guess, Mr. Moore, do you want to just briefly give us a rundown on that?
We always have, this is always part-time seasonal work. In order to stay ahead of the curve, we need to have somebody assigned to be the pool manager, usually in March, so that we can get all our lifeguard certifications done during April. Pool opens Memorial Day or whenever school ends, if that happens to be first, stays open through Labor Day. This is an advertisement to do part-time, to be the part-time management person at the pool. We probably will just post this website on the website and push it to social media as opposed to doing like an ad in the paper.
Is the pool in pretty good shape? Do we know?
Yeah, we normally won't know until we go down there and we start doing the spring work, but as we closed it last year, we did not have any structural problems. We've worked through several issues over the years and had to do quite a bit of work, but we have a core requirement to keep that facility open, and as of today, I'm not aware of anything that should keep us from being compliant this spring.
I hear any motions on the floor.
I make a motion that we authorize the advertisement for the pool manager.
Here, second.
Second.
All those in favor of county administrator advertising for the part-time position at Bear Pen, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Go to 19.
Actually, with 19, I have two things that I think you guys will be interested to authorize, because these are both progress items. The first will be on Rita's Lane. That's a project that we've been trying to get done.
That's on my district, out my road.
Well, we are to the point, we're ready to ask for authorization of T&L to advertise Rita's Lane VDOT project. We are finally to that point, and I need your blessing to authorize that project.
I guess Mr. Phillips need an actual motion to vote on that.
I'll make a motion that we do that, authorize that project.
Here, second.
I'll second it because Mr. Prairie worked really, really hard on this.
Motion and second to approve, I guess.
It's authorizing T&L to advertise the Rita's Lane project.
Go ahead.
I want to make a comment. You asked about this earlier. This is the first one I've seen. So
this takes, what, 4 years?
yeah.
It has taken over 2 years.
We're going to address it. I wanted you
Well,
to.
it gives you an idea of what it's called red tape.
Well, they first started putting houses up there.
All right, I've got a motion and Go ahead, Ms. Sluss, I'm sorry.
I said, they first started putting houses out there, and I drew up all the safety systems, and that was a problem, because they didn't have, I knew it was gonna be a problem, because they didn't have a road. And I live out that way, so I know, so I made that motion. Somebody second it?
Yes, I believe
Yeah.
we can do it. Have a motion and second. All those in favor of advertising, authorizing the advertisement for Rita's Lane, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well. You said you had another matter?
I do. Actually, if you'll remember last month, we were dealing with the Crane's Nest DMME project.
Yes.
We are still waiting on final DMME authorization, but I would like to request that you authorize the Crane's Nest advertisement contingent upon DMME's final
Yes.
authorization.
Yes.
So-
Somebody make the motion.
Can I make that motion?
I'll second.
All those in favor to authorize the Crane's Nest, you got questions?
No.
All those in favor of authorizing the Crane's Nest advertisement, please signify by saying aye. Aye also.
Just a status update, that was signed, it was delivered to DMME, they have signed it, however, we are still waiting for that final authorization to come from them, and that's the only thing standing between us and advertising.
Do you hear all that, Carol? The Crane's Nest project is moving. The Crane's Nest project moving forward. Good. All right. Now, item 20.
I have
I'm
one
sorry.
other
Yes,
thing
ma'am.
in
Go ahead.
other business. Last month, I was appointed to, and Mr. Phillips can tell me if I can do this, I was appointed to the Community Policy Management Team, which is through social services and behavioral health, and the judicial office, I think, sits in on that. And there may be some conflict of interest because my daughter may also at times have to serve on that board. Can I be removed from that board and me nominate Rhonda for that board?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for throwing me a crumb, Peggy.
Mr. Chairman, she would have, with the consent,
Send a letter of resignation.
with the consent of the board, she has a right to resign that appointment if she wishes, with the consent of the board. And then if you wish to appoint someone else, you may do so tonight.
So do you formally,
Yes, I can resign from that.
okay, do we need an actual motion and vote to accept her resignation?
If she would go on and announce her intent to resign tonight, and she's going to resign that, and you accept her resignation tonight, then it's official.
Okay. So, I guess, does everyone, all right, all those in favor of accepting Ms. Kaiser's resignation, please signify by saying aye, I guess. Do you have a motion and a second to accept her resignation from this appointment? Does somebody want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion that
I'll
we
second
accept her resignation.
And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As well. And I'll open the floor for a substitute or a new appointment to this position or this board.
Make a motion we appoint Rhonda Slush.
Have a motion for Ms. Sluss to your second.
I'll second.
All those in favor of Ms. Sluss serving on this board, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As well.
You meet next Tuesday, March 4th at 10 a.m. What? You meet next Tuesday?
No, I'm not a morning person.
At 10 a.m. next Tuesday.
Okay, I guess item 20. I don't have the, I hope Mr. Phillips can read the call for me.
We're going in closed session, right?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, is there,
I make a motion that we
is there a
go
reason
into
to go into
closed.
closed session
Are you gonna
IDA?
make it,
Somebody has to
Mr.?
Is there a
read.
reason?
I didn't ask for that item, I'm not sure who did.
Oh, I don't know.
I didn't, which one, on item A?
The IDA prospect.
I have no
I don't
idea.
know if we have it.
I don't know that I've been trying to determine what that is, and I don't believe there is anything, Mr. Chairman, to discuss tonight in
You
closed
know what I
session.
think it is?
I have a
think it
statement
was
to
put
read
on there
tonight
initially.
on that.
Oh,
What's that?
I have a statement to read on Supervisors' Comment on that.
That would be item 25.
I
Yeah.
know.
What I suspect is this was done with the idea we were gonna have that one meeting that got rained out.
Well, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Well, where are we gonna have that, Rick?
I don't know, but, so we don't need to even go into, were we gonna maybe do something on B?
I did not ask for the the IDA prospect. So what I would recommend, since it appears that you said we did not want to go for.
Nobody knows.
We
what
will
we're trying
just
to figure out.
not go to closed session at all.
So we don't need anything on B?
No, we
Okay.
are trying to get the IDA prospect rescheduled meeting, the one that we missed due to the weather. That is still just in limbo, but we will get a date on that as soon as we can.
All right, so I guess we'll pass 20 and 21.
You got a date?
and-
So you no longer need 20, 21, or 22, and you need to go to 23.
Okay, we'll go to 23 then. And this is a matter we had a public hearing on earlier. Do I hear any motions in regard to,
I make a motion that we accept the small purchase and procurement ordinance that we adopt, that we had a public hearing on today.
have a motion that we adopt the small purchase and procurement ordinance that's in the packet? Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of adopting the small purchase and procurement ordinance, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Item 24.
I want to discuss that.
Yes, sir, me too.
The tax levies, I wanna, is there a date we can change it to? Cause I got a conflict that day.
I don't have my calendar either.
I'm sorry if I missed something, cause
Do we, what another thing I want to discuss as well is the rates. I mean, is this up for discussion? I mean,
Okay, the way this works is we will need,
determine what we want and advertise it that way.
you can go down, but you cannot go up.
I don't want to go up. I wanna
Whatever
go-
you advertise has to be as
You
published
could go
or
down,
lower.
but you can't go back if you advertise these rates.
All right, I see. So
Yeah.
I understand. But we can still vote to go down.
At on the night of the.
Correct,
yes.
okay. All right, then I'm fine with that then.
But my question was pertaining to the date.
Okay.
Because I've got a conflict most that week. The next day after that, I'm fine.
All right, so you're saying our usual March meeting would be the 24th?
Log into my email.
Oh.
That's got my calendar, but go ahead and look at yours first. I left my phone in my truck. I was going to get it on closed session, but I was going to log into my
Okay,
email.
going back, March 24th is our usual meeting. Are you saying you have a conflict with March 24th?
March 18th.
No, I'm good with March 24th. But I was
That's
looking,
last year.
oh, that's why, that's the only reason I was asking.
Well, I didn't catch 19 either.
Yeah, that's,
We didn't update that yet.
that's the only reason I asked. I just read 18th and knew I had a conflict
I
that
done put it in my calendar for next month.
No,
day. So it'll be for the 24th.
yes.
Yeah,
You'll do your
good.
public hearing and adopt in the same.
We're good.
Okay. I need to scratch that.
Yeah, you mark that out. We can white out.
All right, well, so what we doing?
So you changed it to what?
What date did you change it to?
Okay, it's not been changed. Our regular meeting would be March 24th. They were thrown off by the wording in the public hearing notice here, which is actually last year's notice.
So we want to actually use the 24th?
We will actually use March 24th,
All right,
2020.
thank you.
5:45?
At 5:45, yes. Now, the question up for debate would be what Mr. Evans raised is, do you want to go with these rates? These are the rates from these are your current rates.
If we can go down, if this doesn't bind us to not go down, then I'm fine with it.
You can go down at the time of the vote, yes.
So that's, yeah, then I'm okay with this.
Okay.
So when will the vote be?
That night, the 24th of March.
24th, that's it,
Next
Levy.
month's
We'll hear from the public and then
Commissioner's
we'll
office,
decide.
the real estate group.
March the 24th.
Yep.
Is that it?
So do you need an adoption of motion on this?
Well, we just need to schedule the public hearing. It would be March 24th, 2020 at 5:45.
I don't think that requires any official action, does it, Mr. Phillips? I wouldn't think. So we're going to do,
Yeah, you have to make a motion.
You did schedule a public hearing, you do.
I make a motion, we schedule public hearing March the 24th at 5:45 for the real estate levy.
here a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye also. Item 25, I'll start with you, Ms. Wills.
I I guess I'm gonna be Paul Harvey tonight. I'm gonna tell the rest of the story. Our IDA director, Mitzi Sykes, was, and I've written it out so I don't forget anything. Our IDA director, Misty Sykes, was notified February the 2nd by Ernie McFadden. He is the director of IDA in Russell County. And by the VCTA director, Jonathan Belcher, concerning a manufacturing company showing interest in the old Bush building, which sits on the Clinch River at St. Paul. Ms. Sykes advised them neither IDA nor either the Board of Supervisors had an attorney to advise them. She asked Mr. McFadden to attend the next IDA meeting, discuss the project with the full board, which this is a usual and standard procedure of any business that we have to come to the county, or any idea of any business. Both the IDA and the Board of Supervisors rely heavily on the legal counsel for any contract that we might enter into. For the record, our county attorney was fired by Mr. Evans, Ms. Sluss, and Ms. Kaiser on January 2nd. We did not hire another attorney till February the 25th. IDA is hoping to retain one March the 2nd at their meeting. Mr. Fadden contacted Chairman Evans, urging him to have the IDA sign this letter of support. David Eden, a member of the Board of Supervisors from Russell County, also called Mr. Evans. Russell County Board of Supervisors, and I'm friends with some of those, did not ever vote to even borrow $1 million to do this project with.
They don't have $1 million to borrow with.
They
You're
have
not telling the rest of the story.
They have to, now I'm speaking,
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, point of order. If she's speaking, she cannot be interrupted by any member or any member from the audience.
Okay. Now, I learned this from BC. The Russell County Board has to borrow $1 million. They have less than $140,000 in the VCTA fund. I sit on the VCTA board, I know. Okay, they were guaranteed by this company they would pay their $1 million back. They want $3 million, approximately $3 million from us to buy this building with. They offered this to Wise County first. The building sits very close to the Wise County line. Wise County refused. That's red flag number 1. Red flag number 2 is the Board of Supervisors at Russell County. All of them did not even know this project was coming out. They didn't know they were going to borrow $1 million. This business plan was reviewed without counsel, and obviously there was a lot of questions that needed to be answered first. First, we had no chance to go look at the old building, no chance to ask what our percentage of return would be on personal property, machinery, tools, real estate. What percentage of the building would Dickinson County own? If this company was willing to sign this agreement, are they 100% committed to occupy this building? Is it a legitimate company? How many jobs is it going to create? We did not have a chance to ask any of these questions. This was presented to the Wise County, and they refused it. Facts. As I see it as a representative on the VCTA board, Mr. Jonathan Belcher said a letter of support is binding for the money, the obligation for the money. Russell County has less than $140,000. Also, a letter of support is not required
for an application from VC. I sit on that board. I know they do not require an application. I would like for the citizens of Dickinson County to know everything that you hear on social media is not the truth. If anyone wants to know the truth, I urge you to contact Mr. Moore or Miss Sykes or even myself. If I don't know the answers, I will call around till I get the answers, which I've made many calls over this one thing. I heard that we are not in a regional. We're not trying regionally to get business. We are. Mr. Moore, Ms. Sykes attends a RIFA program, which we're in with Lena Wisco on the RIFA program, trying to do a regional project. Cumberland Plateau takes care of the Go Virginia funds, which is a fund that's going to be regional. If we ever get any funds for that, it will come as a regional program. We're participating in various regional programs. If you need to know, if you hear something on social media, if it's correct, please contact Mitzi, Mr. Moore, even myself, or now we have an attorney, Mr. Phillips. Ask him. He's going to be abreast of what's going on. That's all I have to say.
Miss, you want to go next?
Well, it don't matter.
Miss Love, anything?
Well, social media, I mean, it was, all the people's gone that came here to hear this. I don't know, maybe we waited too, I don't know, but there was nobody in cahoots with anybody. Someone said there's a bunch of women in cahoots and all this stuff. It's absolutely ridiculous. I have not spoken to Shelby since our last meeting. Is that true, Shelby?
That's true. But you asked me how did we get rid of the chairman. I said you have to reorganize.
I asked that under my breath because I was a little bit exasperated when we voted for.
That's the question you asked me.
Yes, but I did not.
Now don't back up.
Oh.
I'm not backing up. I'm not back up.
She can't be interrupted.
Yeah, you
I'm
won't
sorry.
let me explain what I was trying to say.
I'm sorry.
My intentions were, and I think it's what we should do and what we've done now, is that we have an attorney now who's which I want to commend, and I'm very thankful for Mr. Phillips. I think he did a wonderful job at conducting this message, what we've done here tonight, this meeting. Josh and I was the one who appointed Josh to be chairman of this, of the Board of Supervisors. Now, has he made some mistakes? Yes. Have I made some mistakes? Yes. I've apologized for my mistakes. But I had never, I do think that he is very, has a lot of energy, and I think his intentions are good. And he has the heart for Dickinson County at his heart, and I commend him for that. And he's very young, and he has a lot ahead of him to do. I never intended, I did not know anything about them putting this on the agenda for a reorganization meeting. Did I, Shelby?
I don't know.
Oh, I didn't. I know nothing about it until Josh asked me via text, was I planning to get rid of him as chairman, and I didn't know anything about it until I looked down and saw the agenda. It had reorganization. So I had nothing whatsoever to do with that being on the agenda. Nevertheless, I think his intentions are good. Perhaps he went about it in the wrong way. Well, there's no perhaps. I think he did go around it in the wrong way, but from what I have also talked with some members of the supervisors, and the project does look like it's a good project. They're going to use white oak to make, it's sort of funny me up here talking about whiskey, putting in a barrel. But anyway,
I would ask you how you know that.
Thank you for breaking the monotony, Mr. Dillon.
she said I wasn't supposed to tell that. Okay. Well, anyway, it was at the Bush Building, so,
It's Brown, the Brown project.
yeah, the Bush Building, you know
I
what
didn't
it's
think you
called?
were still at.
It's the Brown project.
But nevertheless, that's
That's what
my
they're
part
calling
in
it.
the
It's the
situation.
brown
I had no part in the situation. I had no part whatsoever. And I think that with Mr. Phelps's help and the good Lord's help, that Josh will do fine. That's all I got to say.
May I say one more thing? I
No.
I mean, it's concerning this.
She's spoken and.
Thank you. Mr. Peters.
Well, I was gonna allude to a conversation we had at the podium tonight and tie it into this if it works.
You said what it.
You look at what, I think it may have been Allison that said this. There was an agreement for the school to go down in the Hayside area, and she read that to you guys tonight. And even that is in writing, and it's difficult to say how that's gonna turn out yet. But I wanted to reference that. The big lesson there is sometimes you gotta make sure you have concrete that it's gonna be followed through, or maybe they need to build it. Maybe our biggest mistake was Hayside community committed to this, and then they found out the next school board wanted to change everything. I'm gonna use that as an example, but I will tell you that this project that we're talking about, there's about 4 of them going around. And they're good ideas, they sound good anyways, but we gotta follow a proper process to make sure we vetted out and questioned everything, get agreements in place to ensure that we're gonna get what we're asked, what we expect out of the deal. Because the bottom line is, out of the member counties, we're the ones sitting with all the money in the bank out there. And guess
exactly
what?
right.
Every county wants a piece of that. I during some other things that happened in the last 4 years, I can remember Wise County saying, we'd like you to join us. And I can remember the Russell County guys, they just want your money. What's the real truth? Everyone wants our money. So we gotta really make sure that we spend that money wisely, and that's using, we've appointed a board to vet out that, and we gotta go through it the right way to get it done. We don't wanna end up with a lemon and it's another one of these people that come in here, as long as there's a tax incentive, they run off. And I will share some good news with you. In the Cumberland Plateau, when it was a long, drawn-out process to settle this BVU deal for the internet. Now it's even becoming longer to get them started installing. They have installed a hotspot in the Hayside area. That was all they're obligated. It was late, according to the contract. But Cumberland Plateau is gonna go back and, with our money out there, and try to install 2 more. One at Ridgeview and one at Breaks Park. If and when that's gonna happen, I don't know, because they're gonna be after what makes them money, the company doing this. But the thing I wanted to share with you is, out of the deal from the BVU, we got $3 million. We should have had really 14 million. But we got the best deal I thought we were gonna get. It was really long and drawn out. With that $3 million, the IDA can apply for that, so can the town, in something called CPROC. And with that program, the money can go for economic development that creates jobs. But then I immediately ran into this obstacle, because we had a prospect here that was interested. It was a private entity, and it's got EDA strings tied to it from Washington, and they don't want it going for private industry, private person. So we had to work around that, but I was told the other day, I got a letter actually saying that it was finally approved, and Dean Hill got the money to build his bathhouse. So there is some things happening, but I'll tell you clearly, I kind of got upset when I first seen this going on, because I think our best and most and easiest access is if we can help our entrepreneurs progress here, because they got allegiance to stay in the county and help and progress. Now, it doesn't mean we should not keep the doormat out for something bigger and greater. But that's my take. That's all I wanted to say.
I really didn't come with no speech, no thought of even speaking. But when I announced to run for candidate to work for my county and my district, it wasn't that I disliked David, or it wasn't that I didn't think he was doing a good job. I just thought our Irvington district needed a choice. You didn't need one person and nobody have a choice. During my campaign time, I enjoyed getting out. People I hadn't seen in years from my 33 years at McClure Lumber and 5 years with Ritter Circle. So I was in that one building working for 38 years. I've seen a lot of people that I hadn't seen. People recognized Howard from the Picker Show. And we enjoyed knocking on doors and seeing who was going to come to the door. That they come to the door and I say, oh, I know you, but I can't think of your name. But since 11/5, I have asked myself a dozen times, why?
Me too, Peggy.
Why? Why did I get into this? Why did I not see the rough, aggravating, nerve-wrenching side of being a supervisor versus what I did running? But I want to work with all of us. I want us giving and taking, respecting one another for the betterment of our own districts and for the betterment of our county.
Amen, sister.
Unscripted, unplanned.
I say amen.
Thank you, Peggy. That was extremely well said. First, I have to clarify some of Miss Willis's comments because they're just frankly inaccurate. She said that we didn't have facts and figures and legitimate questions about this proposal that was presented to us from Russell County. Well, do you know why we don't have facts, figures, and those questions that are legitimate? Because we didn't call the meeting to invite the people over to give us the information that they had. All I requested from members of our IDA was to quickly, which is in the Robert's Rules of Orders, in the bylaws, totally legal, in the code, to call a special meeting, invite these people over, and ask these questions that are totally legitimate. They wouldn't even do that. That's where my frustration is. My frustration is that we don't have, the census is this year. We're going to be under 15,000 people. We have a median income of $29,000 in Dickinson County. That's one of the lowest, if not the lowest, in the Commonwealth. We have the most children per capita in the Commonwealth living below the poverty line. We have 30 children in foster care. We have as many people locked up in Hayside Regional Jail as just about any other county in Southwest Virginia, and we have half the population. We don't have time to be complacent. If someone calls us and says we've got a prospect that could create 50 to 75 jobs for you, call the special meeting, ask the questions, and then if you don't like what the answers are, then turn it down. We don't have time. We don't have time to be complacent. We need urgency to help our people. Some of you all don't. You all need to come to the juvenile. I challenge you all to come to the juvenile and domestic relations courtroom with me every Monday and Wednesday and see your county for what it is. See the children that are being removed for methamphetamine abuse. See the children whose families can't even file a $25 petition for custody or visitation. See the amount of grandparents that are raising children in this county. And get a sense of reality. Because being political and being critical of me for being upset that we missed on a good opportunity is not going to move us forward. So the fact of the matter is my frustration, and I really, maybe it wasn't wrong, maybe it wasn't, but I didn't know what else to do but to let the people know that we missed an opportunity because we wouldn't call a special meeting to ask these questions that I agree are totally legitimate. Those are good questions, and if those answers weren't proper and we decided then that it wasn't a good project, then okay. But call the meeting, invite them over, ask the questions. Don't wait 2 months.
We only waited from February 2nd to February
Well,
10th.
Madam Chairman, she's continuing.
But I appreciate Ms. Kaiser's comments, I appreciate Mr. Peters' comments, and I appreciate your comments, Ms. Willis and Ms. Luss. Tonight, I'd like to turn the page and move forward. I'm committing to you four to work with you as best I can. We may not see eye to eye on everything, and I respect your opinions, all of yours. I respect yours, Mr. Moore, and very much yours, Mr. Phillips. But I want to serve and be a fighter for the citizens of this county and my district, and I don't want to be complacent any longer. If we have an opportunity, I want to vet it and pursue it, and that's just where I am with that. But I feel like there are, and I echo some of Ron's positive activities. We do have some things going in Dickinson County for us, and I'm looking forward to working on those projects. I'm looking forward to somehow possibly putting this school board litigation behind us, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. But I ask you for your prayers and support, and thank each of you all, and I'll conclude my comments now. And I guess I'll...
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make one more statement on what I read. I forgot this.
It's up to the chairman.
Miss, I'm not, you've already had the time to speak, Miss Willis.
Mitzi happened to Google
Miss Willis, I'm not allowed.
CEO.
I'm not allowing you to speak anymore. Mr. Phillips is supporting me on this. You've had your time to speak.
Do I not have a chance to add to this?
You have one time to speak now.
All right, thank you.
Entertain a motion to adjourn the
Mr.
meeting.
Chairman, I'd like for you to see this paper.
Let's do what Peggy said, just move on.
That's what I plan
I
to
just
do.
wanted you to see this paper I read.
Have a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, can
I
I
motion to
Yes, sir,
adjourn.
Mr. Phillips.
Can I just make a statement tonight? I've tried my best to watch all of you tonight and see how things went, and I thought, Mr. Chairman, you conducted a good meeting tonight. And my job as parliamentarian is to be your right arm and to help you to do that as parliamentarian. And I thought the members were very respectful tonight in terms of conducting the county's business. And based on what I saw tonight is that the citizens can have hope and have the ability to understand that this board is going to do their best to work together to serve the citizens of Dickinson County. So we have many challenges. We have many issues to face. You have a lot of decisions that you have to make that will influence and impact the citizens of this county and their children of this county. And I believe that if the sentiments I hear tonight is that we're going to turn over a new leaf, and when we come back to the next meeting next month, that we're going to do our best to hold and conduct a meeting that the people of this county can be proud of. And I think that y'all did that tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Thank you.
I made a motion.
Have a second to adjourn the meeting
Second.
tonight. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. Aye also. I won't.
I won't be able to wear mine no way.
How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Good to see you.
I was so pleased.
Oh, I know.
I heard.